We approve the minutes of January 14th as printed in the bills.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have everybody here since Martin?
Well, I don't see Mr. Bay, but he has kind of indicated to me that he didn't think that.
Okay.
I talked to him when he comes by, so I'll relay the information he has.
Okay. We have Chase involved, Chase, you know, being there.
You gonna come to the meeting, Jay?
Pardon?
Are you coming to the meeting?
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. I think we got everybody here. I think Mr. Bay is not going to do the trash hauler, so just have everybody who kind of come up. Just
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead and approach. Just Mark.
I'm the only one.
Please, Dave.
Right.
They are pretty hot. How this works.
Yeah, we drove here and back there. We live on TV, or we just recorded for later?
Those do not record, but that one does. In the back.
Perfect.
But let's pick up sound real. So, I guess this morning we just wanted to touch base with everybody. You guys are pretty important in Ashley County as far as hauling trash, and we just, as our timeline progresses closer to May, we start handling like single stream recycling. We wanted to make sure everybody was basically on the same page, and just kind of see where we're at as we transition our solid waste system. We're still in the process of getting people on the solid waste committee. I think at this point we have probably close to half the committee formed, with the goal probably here before the end of the week that committee in place. So they're going to be working closely with the advisory. They'll be helping make some decisions as far as long-term effects on solid waste as we go forward in Ashley County. I guess, Chase, do you have anything specifically, like some questions or stuff that we need to probably be?
Not really. Well, other than what we want to have businesses looking into. I mean, some businesses have already inquired into doing recycling and things of that sort. And I know Benedictine College is one of those that needs some special help. But as far as recycling goes, I mean, what we've asked this in meetings before, but what can we do in the short term before we make that full May 1st implementation date where we have, single stream available to us, what kind of source separated and what kind of things, can we be doing, or where should we be sending people, in terms of who to call or what to, I mean, what's feasible, and I also wanted to know, as far as Ripple Glass goes, when can we have those containers available, and then, and I guess, those, we could start with those two.
Okay, those are for me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, where's my, what? Dale Martin. Dale Martin, okay, you haul in the area? Yeah, I've been in the area for a couple days. Well, you know, if you need somebody to show you the road, don't want to me. No, I just wanted to see who I was sitting at the table with. I don't even know this gentleman here.
You don't know Chase? I'm sorry, I apologize. This is Chase Brigg, our
Chase.
Chase?
program manager at the county. He's been kind of, when we did the solid waste fees and assessments, Chase has been responsible for handling those, the appeals process as well. At 10 this morning as well, but he's been kind of coordinating as far as, plus we also got Matt Gorson back here, our solid waste manager, with Chase can help kind of coordinate between us, City of Aston too, on
Right.
sales from recycling.
Well, I think from probably a transfer station standpoint, you've got things figured out with, you know, the city halls, they'll bring their recycling tip all at one point, you can push it off, compact it to the trailer, swap trailers, and then you're ready to take, MSW at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem.
Okay, so from that standpoint, you know, it's handled. From the Ripple piece, Chase, what did we discuss, we're bringing up a roll-off container? Wasn't that it?
We know we want one at a specific location, but then if we can bring, or in a specific area, and then if we have others, say if we have what are the dimensions of, do you have smaller ones, or is it only 30, 40 yards?
Yeah, you're gonna want a 40-yard roll-off. Otherwise, you know, if we do have smaller plastic ones that we use for some tight bar and restaurant routes that we run around the Kansas City area. But those are, there's only 3 of them in the metro, because those are the areas where we have a dense bar and beer drinking restaurant route, where it makes sense to run a truck to tip the 2 yards into a truck and get a load. Really having a roll-off container put in a convenient location will be the best system. In fact, Emporia has done an impressive thing. A company sprang up to recycle curbside, and glass is one of their key components. People didn't want to make the trek to the, you know, this is just a good example of the private sector coming up and meeting the demand. People didn't want to make the trek to the outskirts of the, I think it was east edge of town, and this company said, oh, we'll come do it for you. Kansas City's had a couple that have sprung up recently, hauling glass, and people wanted to pay for that service. Usually, they wanted to recycle, but they didn't want to go make the trip to the grocery store. It's beyond me, but anyway, that's probably down the road for Atchison. You guys are just bringing out the commingled recycling, but as far as getting information out to folks, you know, let me get, have I got you a couple of examples of flyers we sent, drug pieces?
Now, would those be, I guess the biggest question would be who would be responsible for paying for those? Would that be under the purview of our contract, or would we have to do something else to get that service? Would businesses have to request it? How do we get those?
I got you rates for, well, I guess we're talking about 2 separate things. We're talking about commercial and residential. From the residential standpoint, my understanding is the city starts 1st of May on residential trash, and that's really a communication, I think, from the city standpoint to their residents. And this is me, somebody from outside looking in. If the county or the city has a different idea on this, speak up. I'm just, like I said, outside looking in. That's really, seems to be the city or county to contact the residents through newsletters or whatever method you have, and let them know that, you know, this is a new service. When you deliver the carts or the bins, is it carted? Is that how it's gonna be, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so, great. You know, when you deliver the cart, if you don't have a yes/no list hot stamped into the lid, I'd stick a flyer on every cart.
I think for the recycling, we are gonna have the yes, no, or just the basic list.
Right.
Hot stamp onto it, but, glass is gonna be something, even if we and then get into another issue. I guess we'll just have to communicate that if the glass needs to be separated out and then take it to the 40-yard wall.
Glass needs to be separated out. And the reason for that is we used to take glass curbside, but it just contaminates everything else. It contaminates the cardboard, which is one of the highest value pieces. It contaminates the aluminum and the steel, which are other high value pieces. And at some point, even the best, newest equipment is only getting it down to 80-85% pure. And vendors would much rather have it 90-95% pure. So by pulling glass out of the stream, it's such a small amount if you think of what you use in glass anymore. Except for the beer and wine bottles that come out of a lot of homes. That's the majority of glass we see in all of the containers is alcohol based. And by no means am I getting on that use of alcohol discussion, just if you want to recycle it, take it.
And that's why we wanted to put it in between, or centrally located in
Right.
between several of our, restaurant drinking establishments, that's, we can collect all that. But for the commercial,
Sure. For the commercial side, we have a sales representative, Dolores Walton, has been doing recycling with us for close to 10 years now. Does a very good job, and she's ready to come visit with businesses. She's ready to call and direct mail, at our cost, to let them know that that's available. And then we'll run a route if desired, and then what we need to figure out. So, if all the businesses are clear with how that helps them save money, it should be a wash, or perhaps better, by diverting some of the waste, or recycling away from the waste stream. It ought to be a wash for them, or perhaps better with the waste that we've got, to offset the, what do you call it?
Assessment.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that should go with their assessment.
Exactly, so it ought to be
Yeah, there's a way to come in.
it's a feel good, it's a warm fuzzy smiley face, it shouldn't cost anything. You might actually say something, if they're judicious about it or not.
What are our commodity prices for recycling?
No, I haven't looked since Christmas.
We heard they were gonna go up after the inauguration.
Yeah, I don't know who said that. They actually did go up, in December. I haven't seen them in January, but I can find out and send a report up.
And now we have an actual coordinator, is that right?
Dolores.
Yeah, Dolores, will be
Okay.
a point person for all the businesses to talk to.
Okay.
And I'll send her information to Jason, let him have that, and disseminate it how he wants. But then I can also have her start reaching out to businesses through mail and let them know that we're ready to start. I would say April 9th-ish, we're shortly prior, the week prior to the container delivery, if anybody wants to start that process.
so is that for cardboard?
Cardboard or commingled, right.
Okay.
And we can deliver either containers. What we'll probably do is run just one route. They'll pick up both, and then we'll separate it. But we'll take it, either we'll direct haul it south, or we'll haul it to Doniphan, because we won't be on the same times as the residential routes, and it's not fair to ask you to swap trucks at our whim. So it won't mess with your operations, Matt.
Dale, do you run a regular route anymore, you just got selected customers, I mean?
No, they're a route, but, all I hear about this recycling is not cost nobody any money. It's gotta cost somebody some money, whether it's a business, a county, or whatever, it's not free. Okay? And Shawnee County is going about their 6th time of trying to recycle. Shawnee County, Topeka, they're on their 6th time of trying it. Now, I'm not saying the other 5 times failed, because they did away with it 5 times earlier, so.
I think, I know with Topeka, I think one of their biggest struggles has been within the city limits of Topeka, because they have 2 or 3 haulers. I think one of them is the actual county or city, and they compete against private, which, for whatever reason, they want to continue that. I think they've been really struggling within the city limits of Topeka with You know, one question I have probably for both of you is we probably going to talk about within the city limits of Atchison, what about like, other communities or, rural areas? I know that there have been people that have inquired, well, what can we do, or what services are available for us that live outside the city limits of Atchison?
You got some customers, I mean, you pick up, you
Yes,
got,
sir.
yeah, because that's just all your containers.
The people that I do business with, they're not into recycling, they're really not. I mean,
Well,
when you have a group number inside the city, you may possibly try it, but look at what you're paying out here at your little recycling center now, what's it cost you every month?
well, it's 18,000 a year, so.
$18 a year, so it's not free.
Well, until the commodity prices get back up, we're gonna subsidize for recycling, let's just be, you know. I mean, Brent, you admit, I mean, that's a fact.
We do the same thing on our, we love it when they're up and, you know, it offsets the lower cost of haul, and when they're down, we eat it a little bit. But, on the rural standpoint, I agree, most folks in the rural areas across all of our communities, including Shawnee County, aren't terribly into recycling, and the ones that are used to driving in town, and if there's a facility that they can drop off at, they will. The rural mentality versus the in-town mentality is a little different. And they're used to driving for things, and they're used to doing a little extra work, working a little harder, and, if they want to recycle, they will.
I mean, I'm pretty pleased with the amount of recycling when I go out to this station. I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff that's been sorted, you know, papers, magazines, and plastic and stuff like that, so. But,
That may be a
like
place.
you, I'm not for sure, when you look at the cost effectiveness,
Is it
maybe.
possible to clean up what's dropped on the ground, and who takes care of that? Is that free to clean that up?
What, like, what are you talking about?
Plastic that's fell on the ground, how many people are gonna pick it up?
Yeah.
You know, years back, we had containers here inside the city limits sitting around, and everybody complained about the debris that didn't make the container. I mean, are we gonna have a full-time maintenance person cleaning this up? Is that gonna be free, or? Somebody's gonna have to clean it up, because you're gonna have spillage. It's not 100% going in the container, I don't care whether you put trash in it, glass in it, or cardboard. It's human nature, if they drop something on the ground, they're not gonna pick it up. And most people that recycle, that bring their stuff to town and recycle, are the men of the house. The men don't fool with it.
I keep it right.
So it's gonna have to be a small container that they're gonna bring from home to town, and they're gonna have to dump it in something.
You know, that sometimes becomes a honeydew zone, so.
Generally, when we, to your point of spillage, you know, outside the containers, there's only been one instance in the past couple of years that we've been asked to move a container, and that was the Dollar General store in Miami County that was just tired of sweeping up, and they had people that were abusing it, and the schedule that they had it on meant it didn't get picked up often enough, so that stuff got piled up outside it. And that was the overflow. Once the schedule was corrected, and the new location was established, there's been very minimal on the ground now. You're right, it does take somebody to go out every once in a while it gets broken or stuff gets set off to the side. It's pretty minimal from what we've seen, and if it's a bigger issue, then we do some public education and get it corrected.
Well, then
Do the drivers do that, to look for it, and
Yeah.
if there's somebody else, somebody pick it up?
To some extent, yeah, if there's a, they've all got rooms and shovels with them, they try to leave the area better than when they found it. They can't spend half an hour loading up the container again, but,
Sure.
from what spills out the back end on the collection, that sort of thing, certainly.
So I guess what you're saying, Dale, if there's somebody misses the trash container, and there's bottles laying by, whose responsibility? I'd say if it happens in the city of Aspen, it happens in the city of Effingham, whatever, the city becomes responsible, I mean, it becomes their problem, wouldn't it?
especially, the city wanted the one ripple glass container, on the, in the one parking lot not that they own it, they would be responsible, the public works would be responsible for, maintaining it and cleaning it up. But that's one of the reasons why we wanted it on the city's particular space, because then they can, assign the public works to do the sweeping and doing the rounds on, making sure nobody's getting in there, messing with it, or things of that sort, so.
So I'm thinking of Sandy single source for recycling and natural gas, Lancaster, let's go here. I think
It's designed for here in the city.
it's gonna continue probably as such there.
It's initially started, I mean, unless, you know, that solid waste committee, you know.
Right, they may come up with some
Some
other
cities.
ideas, that's fine, but I mean, I could just about tell you, it's probably not gonna change too much, you know, when you get out in the country.
There's always somebody sitting on the backside of the table telling you how smooth and everything's gonna work, you know? A guy that wants to promote his project or whatever. I had a couple individuals visit me probably a year or two ago, and, when you had your survey come out, and they were doing a survey before you go, well, they told me that I basically didn't know what I was doing, that, I was in the ancient age of hauling trash, and I've been doing it for 30-some years. So, they were promoting themselves on their ideas, and, and, you know, I'm not saying this isn't gonna work. You'll find out down the road whether it will or it won't. And then I mean, it's not gonna be bulletproof. You're gonna have to make some changes as you go through it.
And I don't think anybody's up here has said there won't be changes. I mean, part of that's why we're getting that solid waste committee, you know, a true solid waste committee established and put it on them to, you know, to work together. And that's gonna be a pretty broad spectrum of people, which we've never had, at least that I've been aware of.
You are inquiring to be on the solid waste committee.
We've got school districts, we've got, I don't know what we heard back from, each of the cities were invited, based on state statute. We've also got some at-large individuals, businesses, small, large, and a couple of at-large individuals. They're all on the solid waste committee.
Mr. Martin, I don't know if you have any interest in, or willingness to be involved in that or not.
I think I'm gonna go lay on the beach in the Bahamas. I think that's where I'm headed. You know, if you all would've put a little more information out when you was inquiring about the customers and the containers and everything, I could've helped you a little bit, but I don't believe, when I gave the information to Matt, I didn't completely understand exactly what was taking place. Most businesses, that's the size is the fee on, was sized on the size of the container set in front of the business. Well, that container's not full every time you go by and empty it. It'd be the same principle as you having a 25-gallon gas tank on your car, and you go into the filling station on Monday or Thursday or whatever, you go in twice a week, and that guy wants to charge you for that 25 gallons. Well, you may only take 10, but he wants to charge you for that 25, and that's what's happening here with these containers that people have been assessed on. It's not fair to me to them because they're not full all the time. Once in a while they may be full, but by oversizing the containers of some of these businesses, you don't have the debris blowing up and down the streets, you know. You know, I remember a few years back when trash in Aspen was a real problem, and I think you all probably remember that. Because they used to have containers sitting around different areas and alleys and things, and the trash blowed up and down the street. But I think this assessment that was put on to the businesses and whatnot, I don't think it was justifiable by the size of the containers that I turned in from my customers, and probably what you turn into your customers, because your containers aren't full every time either.
Right.
And, I feel sorry for the businesses, I really do, because they're being assessed something that probably isn't fair 90% of the time.
Well, the solid waste fee is not something brand new that we've created. I mean, it's something that's used in other municipalities and counties, you know, around the state. And it was one of 4 different funding formulas as far as like determining like what waste is being generated, in our county. And that was done by Heineke LLC, the group that I think you were alluding to, earlier, which they've done, I think, multiple studies, for multiple county organizations here around the state. So it wasn't something that we just created. I mean, and I think, you know, we as a commission were, you know, didn't want to do the, necessarily the tipping fees, for fear of like that trash debris being dumped in ditches and everywhere else.
Yeah, that's an argument, but
Yeah.
the one thing I learned when you go to these conferences and get to visit, that the assessment is way more common than you realize. Now, it's not near as high.
I don't disagree with the assessment at all. What I agree with is how it's set up on the side of the container that the business has.
But that's the basis, on the basis that you have, unless you weigh everything individually.
Well, what feedback I'm getting back from some of my customers is, let's reduce the size of the container if we don't need it. And we can do that, but it creates an awful burden on small business to go in and resize the containers. And you can do some shuffling, moving one side of the container to another party's area or whatever, but you're still gonna have to have out-of-pocket expense for a container that, you know, they were being served and they're generating X number of cubic yards of trash. But, what I'm saying is just, it's not fair just because there's a 4-yard sitting there that you're being assessed for a 4-yard, when a 3-yard would probably take care of it. Now, that don't sound like a whole lot, but over a period of time, in a year's time, that makes a lot of difference on their flow.
And on the same token, too, I mean, nothing's perfect, the assessment on residential is not fair. Because we can't weigh that. I mean, you know, there's nothing perfect, you know, the perfect system really is everybody take care of their own trash. And you pay how much, but then you get into some of the same thing as a tipping fee.
Like pay as you throw is up.
Yeah.
And there's very few, I think even Johnson County is not even to that step yet. I think they've flirted with the idea, but it could be pretty rigorous and it's a challenge, to say the least.
It's there residentially, but not commercially.
Dale, do you have an idea as to what would be a more equitable way to determine the amount of trash that's generated by these businesses?
Well, I mean, I always thought would have had an opportunity to kind of run a study of my own to see what the customers were doing. We just turned in the information by the size of the container was set in front of the business. And that's what we forwarded the information with Matt and whatnot, and that's what you guys all operate off from. And, I wish I could have, I wasn't aware of where you were going with it, you know, and, you know, some of those places where we have oversized containers, but they wanted, for their convenience, to keep it from blowing up and down the street. You know, maybe we could have reduced the size of it, you know, what we did study and actually seen what they did generate. But, I mean, that could come later on. I mean, I hope that you stay open-minded about it, that if some business comes up and says, okay, we're doing this recycling, we're cutting back, and we can reduce the rates through that process. I mean,
Well, I mean, we know what you bring in terms of weight out there, so, and we know volume-wise what's available to your customers. So if you wanted to give an estimate for each of those, as to this is approximately 50% full, this is 80% full, whatever, it could be a mathematical formula to dial in a little bit closer. That would be based on somebody who's got experience with the hauling to make a judgment. Yeah, is that something that you're,
I think,
do you think it's a possibility?
I think the best thing to do is just sit tight and see how it works, and see how the people get on. There's a lot of unhappy folks out there right now, and,
It's a big change.
I don't want to serve them too much more than they already are.
Well, it's a big change in system, and that's.
Sure it is.
And that's why we're trying to get that solid waste committee up and going, so they can give input, and, you know, their job is to look at efficiencies, to analyze the system, to see, going forward in 2014, you know, what is the best way to move forward as far as, solid waste.
And another thing that I've done with other businesses that have, complained that they have the bigger dumpsters because other people throw in without their permission, their consent, whether they're people just throwing their household trash, other businesses going in. And in that case, because all along Commercial Street, we have a lot lot of businesses and 6 dumpsters, so trying to get somebody's projected trash down is so that they only pay for their supposed portion, and then another business comes in on that, and we keep the same container. It's just people's assessment goes down, because we don't want, as a result of our policy, people just reducing container size, and then we have trash sitting laying all on the streets. We do want to try and dial them in a little bit more. It's a lot of work meeting with people and getting everyone to agree on something that, on an average day, nobody thinks about. Is their trash in terms of cubic yardage, but we are getting it dialed in a little bit more, and that way it doesn't create that shuffle, and we keep containers that are serving, other businesses and taking care of our trash problem, our free rider problem, as best as they can, but I guess I would go along with that suggestion, just sit tight and try and I have a stack of complaints, it's just getting through them and trying to make sure that, if there's something that we can do, then try to fix it, but.
I know one thing we tried, when Chase put this information together, was to make sure that, based on estimation, we know about how much total trash is collected out there. And we didn't want to come up with all these estimations and be estimating that we haul 20,000 tons of trash, and be assessing people at that rate versus, we want to get this close to what we actually were hauling off. And I'm not for sure we're still fine-tuned to that point yet. You understand what I'm saying? Because and I think you've made quite a few adjustments to get to that point. Because what you're saying, if that is truly a major problem, we'd be way over assessing everything.
What does, as a commissioner level, what do you folks have to do to put this back on the ballot and vote again or rescind whatever? Because everybody in northeast Kansas knows what they voted for at sales tax. Everybody in northeast Kansas knows what they voted for.
Well, and that's, on Thursday night of last week, we had a countywide summit we discussed with several cities. As of right now, we're tentatively planning a meeting like in June to discuss that further. Because it impacts, it's not just us, it impacts everybody. I mean, you're talking about all the cities, and so that's what we're trying to come up with, some equitable solutions as we go forward. So I don't have any answer to that question because nobody's made a decision. We're trying to work with everybody together on this. I think 10 seasons in the past, and nobody's really talked or communicated very well about it. And I think getting here into the spring, early summer, I think we probably have some equitable solutions.
When the tax money was flowing like it was presented in the beginning, they had plenty of money at the landfill to take care of the equipment, take care of the facility, and everybody was happy. There are not very many people you can talk to on the street or in the county that's happy today. And everybody you talked to about the vote on that situation was in favor. If it's not right, why don't we do something to get it right and go back the way we've done it?
Well, that's a valid concern, that was discussed in extent by everybody, so.
It's gonna take some work to get there because to rebuild it, to do it the right way, I mean, it's gonna take legislative action.
Well, that's what we hired you folks to do, to take care of the thing,
Yeah, but you have to get all cities on board.
I don't think that'd be a problem, the vibrations I'm getting.
All the cities, no, I think we have a problem. We have to all agree, when you present that to the legislatures, we all have to agree how the money's gonna be used and how it's gonna be spent. One entity doesn't like the idea, the taxation committee will say, we don't even know if they can't agree on it. Okay, just let it go, that ain't gonna happen. You got 100% agreement. It's not as simple as what it seems.
I went through that
I've
in the
spent,
beginning.
yeah,
Sure.
well, but they really took, that was the easy route.
But they didn't go through that process at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. It was, I spent 2 days with the people when I first came on there. I was trying to figure out what.
I think they were coming forward, vote if it wasn't done right. It is a law
honestly, from what I've seen with it, I don't think it necessarily started with Kansas cities. I think it started here at home. I think it started with county using the money for other things. And so that's, we're getting back into the past. We're working on that. We don't have any solutions for that right now, but we've been with cities, so we need your input with that.
I think as a new commissioner, it's some of us just kind of to get our concerns out and see how the city actually felt. And if nothing comes of it, we may have to go and have that recycled. Because there is, like you say, a lot of people out there that's unhappy about this. It's not like we're not working on it. It's just like, Mr. Bogart said, it takes time.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, I'm a pretty simple man, Dale. When I see county sales tax, I think the county's in charge of it, but that is the way it was voted, it's not. The county's not in charge of it, it's a general use tax. Pat did an excellent job explaining at that meeting exactly how it works. And it's basically, under that particular law, or under that deal, it's divvied to the various cities based upon population, valuation, or property tax, however. And the ruling has been made that none of the other entities are required to contribute a certain amount. It's a slap in the face to me, too.
No, that wasn't the way it was presented. Your friendly asked them daily glow papers, read about it, and all this is taking place, blah, blah, blah.
You mean when they voted on it?
That's right, it was voted on, so, and that's what the people would understand when it was voted on.
So we're getting down to some minute,
Yeah.
legislative definition of how you
Well, as long as,
vote that.
as long as you just don't forget about it, kind of keep it back in your mind, that might be a route to reconsider.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else do we have before we?
I guess,
Dan, I had another question. How much of a burden does it put on you to even offer recycling on a commercial basis?
I haven't even done anything, thought about it. I get these brochures regular basis about companies that have started it, and get in it and get out of it, and there's very few of them that stay in it for a long period of time. Very few of them.
And no offense to Deffenbaugh, but I'd rather have local vendors doing it than you big out-of-town city folks.
No problem at all. Be happy to haul it and not do any of the actual work beforehand.
And I don't know whether there's anybody that can do that, or is willing to do it, or wants to do it.
We can look at it and see what we're at, if you're talking, containers, recyclable containers. We can do a little research.
Someone like you, it's hard to get excited if there's not more incentive than what there is now.
Well, you get my age, you're not gonna get too excited about too many things.
I ain't very far behind you, I ain't as far as you think.
Well, been in it a long time. Paying a lot of taxes in Madison County.
So, as far as going forward, as far as, meeting, I'm sure that, once the Waste Committee is probably going, they're probably gonna, visit with both you, possibly Bay, at some point, we ever get them to the table. That's an assumption, and that's gonna be probably going here by the end of the month, first meeting, so. I think the big thing is anywhere we can divert out some of those recyclables. I mean, in theory, your tonnage goes down too overall, so you're gonna see some cost savings on the solid waste, on just the non-recyclable side as well, so,
Only if the commodity price comes up. Otherwise, there's no savings.
well, if your weight is
My
reduced,
math, huh?
if your tonnage is reduced, if
That tonnage is reduced, but you're gonna cost, rather, right now, in the contract, until commodity prices go up, the price to haul the recycling is higher.
Right. You're not eliminating
your tonnage goes up.
Yeah, but the
Total
tonnage
tonnage
of
is the
solid
same.
waste, but the recycle the total tonnage is gonna be the same.
Mhm.
We're already subsidizing, I mean, it's not as if, I mean, even if you do save some, I mean, we've already been subsidizing recycling to the tune of $18,000 a year with this, with the next step, the other direction. So, it's not as if we haven't, never or subsidized recycling from a business standpoint. That's why I don't get real excited about it. There's not a savings or, you know.
Excuse me, monthly commodity report, where you can see the trend. I think I got it for you a couple years back, so I'll just work from there, update and get those to you later this week.
Well, make sure you send it to Matt first.
Okay.
One other question I had on the glass, I know when, Matt and I talked with Ripple Glass Rep, this is probably about a year or so ago, she had mentioned something about, on the glass, setting up like essentially like an area with like the big cement blocks and, piling the glass, and then when you get to like a full 1 or 2 semi-loads, shipping it out that way. Is there any benefit or savings for us to do something like that?
Actually, in our contract, Ripple, our cost was gonna go away to hauling that, so I don't see where there would be any savings to stockpiling it.
You're right.
Okay.
We're gonna absorb the cost of the county's portion
Okay.
that you were paying to Ripple.
Okay.
Overall, yeah, it saves money to do it that way,
But it doesn't.
but it doesn't benefit the county directly, no. Not with the way the contract's written, we're absorbing the cost all for it.
Okay.
I'm just getting the benefit of the version.
Okay.
Down the road, maybe something to look at, but there's no reason to, in a transfer station that doesn't have a whole lot of extra space anyway, once we do the recycling, there's no reason to start building corrals to.
That's what, after we get
Big
to where we
steps.
got a big volume coming,
Yeah.
we might look at that.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I'm just curious if we get requests for more dumpsters.
You know what,
Yeah.
yeah, that's certainly the way to go. If we end up hauling, more loads than we currently do now, it'd probably behoove us to build it for you. Just because it would save us on fuel in the long run.
I guess that would be the question going forward is, so the cardboard recycling containers and the work glass, these are available now, or they have to wait till April?
No, they're available now.
Okay.
The Rebel are already in place, aren't they?
We have one, but it's tucked away. But it's our recycling. It's our recycling.
Okay, figure out where you want to put it, and we'll put it wherever you want.
I noticed that there's a cardboard recycling set up at, New Commons. And so I think that's one of your boxes.
Right.
Can anybody use that, or is that just McDonald's?
McDonald's is paying for it,
I
so
understand that.
legally it should just be McDonald's. Unless they're willing to open it up, and that's, you'd have to talk to them about how they want to do that. It's the same thing as somebody else using their dumpster. Regardless of who hauls it, they're paying for that service. Somebody else putting something in that is illegal dumping, or, it's filling up their container, causing them not to have the space that they need, possibly. You'd want to talk to them about that.
Dale, also, I'd like to invite you, if there's somebody that you know of that you think would be an asset to the solid waste committee, to work on it for us. I understand you may not have an interest in that. If you know somebody you think would be an asset to the committee, we'd like to know. So,
I've got a couple brothers that are retired.
We're all going to the Bahamas. We'll let the big green machine take over.
Yeah, that would, absolutely. I mean, it would be great to have you or somebody else with you. Going to the Bahamas, you're probably gonna be available to me. I don't think it's gonna be anything
We'll
that
help you do the boxes, it's no big deal. I mean, we can get into it all, if that's what you so desire.
I don't think
That's no
necessarily.
problem.
I think you've got to look at it from your standpoint as a business person, too. Okay, I mean, I don't think we need to mandate something like that necessarily.
Okay, guess we don't have anything else. Steve, good for now?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up. Appreciate it.
Little that.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Have a good day.
Dale and Brent, I think we do need to appreciate you guys sharing the data with me going through this process. That was very kind of you to do that. We appreciate that, so.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chase, this is the,
The list of people that I've contacted that were in the hearings file. We have two people that confirmed, two people that were definite, and then a couple others that were possibly attended, the schedule permitted, and then the others would be either rescheduled or are no longer appealing. So, I've also attached copies of the appeal form, and guess we'll just open it up.
entertain a motion to go into solid waste appeals hearing.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. The purpose of this, hearing is to, number one, go over, the purpose, why everybody's here for solid waste appeals. We're choosing to, do this in a public hearing, open session, so, as we go through each individual, which I see 3 individuals, here, out of the appeals list. One thing I would suggest or hope for is civility, being calm and rational. The solid waste hearings are specifically about, your situation, your appeal, and, not necessarily, the implementation of the solid waste fee. We've had several discussions and hearings about that prior date, although we can discuss in a little more detail if we need further explanation, on what happened. So, Chase, you want to start off with any explanation of the hearing, or you want to just go ahead and start with? We have.
I guess.
The list that you handed us.
Well, did we want to do a brief explanation of why we went with the solid waste fee? Maybe a little,
Yeah, that'd probably be good.
preface?
That'd be a good refresher.
Okay. So, well, we decided to go with the solid waste assessments based on a study by a consulting firm, solid waste firm, that suggested that as a better way of funding solid waste for 2 reasons. One is that it is based on use instead of just allocating money to be spent. It's tailored to however much you use is how much you spend on. So there's the added benefit of that. And then also because we had other things that came up for this year's budgeting season, it was a necessity to, that's what helped move the timetables forward a little bit. Why it was put into place as soon as it was. We had plenty of discussions over the summer in commission meetings hearings, all of them were covered by the paper. We did put in our resolution that we would give public notice, and we did that. For our purposes though, or at least for my purposes, it created a lot more confusion because one question begets another question begets another question. So, while it didn't answer all the questions, the public notice was sent out, and it did give a number and steps to, if anybody wanted to appeal or try and fix their situation or address it, then we put that in there. Yes, ma'am.
Can we get a copy of that notice, because we never got anything?
Yes, I can give you a copy.
You know, the only thing that we've gotten is what was eventually finally posted on the county website right before we filed our appeal. The Atchison Globe we don't subscribe to, and the version that you get online is like the first sentence, first paragraph. So the notice that the county is sending out, I just have to stop you because the notice that's being sent out supposedly is not getting to all of it. We never got the fee structure, we never got the notice or the resolution. I mean, so it's been kind of hit and miss as far as actually the due diligence that the county has done as far as the public notices and hearings and making sure that we're all apprised of what's going on. Okay? So if I can get a copy of the public notice that was sent out, and also the date, is it just this recently that it happened in December when it was finally posted on the website? The appeal form and the...
deadline date,
No, the notice.
the notice.
The first time that I saw it was in December on the website.
The notice was sent out,
I did get an empty envelope in December, supposedly from Atchison County, with absolutely nothing in it.
And you're telling us this about a month later, or, I mean,
No, I
if
mean,
you received it, you should have notified or at least
We got
contacted us.
we got an empty envelope, and I
Okay.
did call right away. What was
Okay.
supposed to be in this envelope? And the
Okay.
girl assured me nothing.
And, okay, I guess I probably need to know who you spoke with and,
Probably somebody in the treasurer's office, because the envelope came from the treasurer's office.
they were not window, they were sent out to...
No, it wasn't it wasn't a window envelope. It was... But when Chase is telling me
Yes,
that they sent out notices and that, I'm just saying, we didn't get one, and we never have gotten the fee structure or fee schedule. The only thing that we've gotten, period, has been our own research following these transactions.
okay.
And I as well never received anything.
And we received this December 17th, and I called the treasurer's office, and there was absolutely nothing in this envelope. I called about it. It says it's coming from the Atchison County Treasurer, that's the return address here, and it's all pre-addressed, but it was absolutely empty.
We addressed our postal resort.
I know a lot of people received,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We got people that repaid. They thought that was
Based
gonna
on
get
that.
repaid.
Yeah.
We got staff and others that didn't do.
Well, I apologize for the empty envelope.
Well, and I just want to say,
yeah.
though, I think that the county needs to be aware of maybe how much information has not been sent.
Well, and this is the first that we've heard of empty envelopes. I have never heard, so I know several people received it because, like,
Well,
Commissioner Bodenhouse had alluded to, some people paid again or thought it was a second notification to pay. So I know the notifications went out to multiple. I mean, I think we sent it out to approximately, Chase, I mean, was it 600, 700?
It was, like 6,100 that was paid.
yeah.
So
Well, see,
sent
we
that out.
were, of course, doing a lot of research at the time, personally, trying to find out what is going on here, because we filed our appeal December 19th.
Okay.
So we were definitely paying attention to anything that might be
Came through the
coming
mail.
from the county or whatever. And I did call right away, and she assured me my name wasn't, our name, because it's addressed to him, wasn't on any list, and we weren't supposed to have gotten anything. And it was shortly around that period there that it finally appeared on the county's website. And I'm also gonna say that since all this started, I've been checking that website. As of yesterday, January 9th, is the most recent commission meeting minutes that's posted on there. So we could maybe improve the timeliness if we're going to start relying on the website as the source of notice to the taxpayers. Things need to get out maybe a little more timely and a little more completely.
Okay.
What did you say was the last one that was on there?
January 9th,
So we're missing last week's.
We haven't approved, yeah, so we
It was
didn't.
approved.
Yeah, approved the minutes, yeah.
We approved the minutes first things, on
You can't
the
post it.
proceeding.
You really can't post it.
Yeah, and I don't know how fast meetings, we've been recording the meetings since August of 2012. And I'm not sure how fast the actual recording of the meetings, but those are typically getting out there within 6 to 7 days of the meeting. So that might be something else too.
I think we went from December 19th or something around when I filed to January 9th.
Okay.
You know, there wasn't any update, and I know there was some time off for the commissioners and that, but like I said, when you're trying to watch a process and become informed about the process and what are we supposed to be doing, it's been a little bit frustrating. So, sorry to interrupt, Chase, but it was just like, to sit there and say, yeah, we sent out notices, and then, you know, it's like putting the burden back on us, and I'm going, we didn't get anything.
Well, and that, I mean, the issue that we have here is our lack of ability to communicate, because if we don't spend the $5,000 to send letters to everyone, there's a good chance a number of people just will never hear about anything until it ends up on their property tax statement. And that's, by that time.
And the only other thing I can suggest is if Atchison Globe is the official paper of the county and getting paid for all of the stuff that, you know, they do get paid for, the official public notices, that they need to put the entire article on the internet. They're getting paid by the county. Taxpayers, to publish that, they need to make it totally available. They don't have to put the other news articles in their entirety, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, public notices being.
But all the public notices and anything that has to do with county business, I think, should be completely opened up on the internet. They're getting paid for that.
You need to talk to the publisher about that, because.
I know, and I know a lot of their papers are doing
the
that,
newspapers,
you know,
and
but they also have lots of advertising all over that website page, you know. I know they're getting revenue to help pay for that cost. I'm just saying.
But we're a private entity.
I'm just
so-
saying that the county is relying on them, and if they're the official paper.
Public notices should be posted on the website with no charge with access to the
So-
website.
I mean, that's one thing, we've also,
It's like when you buy a paper, I mean, public notice is in there. You know,
it's in the paper that you pay for, and then if you use the online, service, you do have to pay to see the entire article. I mean, you do have to be a subscriber, but I think what they're saying is that if there are any public notices like budgets or any major policy changes, that should be, you know, something that's available without having to just.
Notice of
subscribe.
hearing and the agenda, and, you know, maybe we need to come and, you know, yeah. And I just think it should be there instead of just,
but that's still an issue to address with the publisher. So,
And we've thought of also one other, solution is that we can put a, emailer, if somebody goes on the county website and puts their email in, and they can get, whenever we have public notices, public hearings, things of that sort, they can have it sent to that email, because that's the cost-effective option of directly communicate. But, I mean, if you don't use the internet and you don't read the paper or listen to the radio, the only time you ever get any communication is when the treasurer's office or the appraiser's office sends something. So we do need to do something to communicate better so that people know in a timely manner, not after the fact.
I agree.
And we.
And I'm gonna insert one more thing, is that there's a lot of people in the rural area of the county that do not have access
Mhm.
to internet. You know, we happen to be fortunate in that our telephone provider does, but there's a lot of people out there that don't. They have to go to the library, or they have to go, you know, to a school or someplace else to get their internet access, and that also makes it difficult to say, well, in this community, we can just do a blanket, you know.
Sure.
Well,
How would you like to see us do it?
I don't know, if you can't guarantee that everybody's gonna have like internet access, then you're gonna have to go back to the hard mailing, which,
And that costs.
you know, yes.
Most people have mobile cell phones, though. Mobile technology is kind of changing some of that. I mean, you're talking about the internet.
But we have a cell phone, but we don't pay for all the, you know, all the bells and whistles. I mean, so there we go, you know, it's,
What we do have is either we budget for more money to be put into mailers that we send out a quarterly report or something, because it does cost about $5,000 to send it physically to everyone, which is, I mean, it's the most effective way to directly communicate. It's very costly for us to do, and so either we have a year scheduled out so that people know, you know, third quarter, we're gonna address this as a matter of policy. Do you wanna attend? I mean, if we did want to do a cost-effective version of that, we would have to get much more organized so that we can say 2-3 months out in advance, we're gonna do this on this day, and then send public notice out. But, I mean, what we have is communication issues with segments of our taxpayers, is that there's no way to get into contact with them. And so it makes it incredibly difficult to communicate anything, especially when it involves taxes.
100%. You know, and we've expanded quite a few things to try and, you know, increase that communication. You know, number one was the recording of meetings. I mean, there's several counties that were doing that for the last 2-3 years. You know, I know not everybody has access to internet, but, you know, if you're gaining another 50, 100 people that previously couldn't attend a meeting that wanted to, you know, have access to school, whether it's at the library or at home. I mean, we are trying, obviously, everybody can, I don't think anybody's ever 100% on full effective communication, so.
I don't either, I just know
And I apologize
You
for
know, I
Andy.
started looking at the radio, the newspapers, the websites, you know, really quite a chase, and I'm like, it just needs to be easier for the, you know, general public, most of us, to, you know, get this information. So maybe you have to use all of it, but be more complete. I'm just suggesting that maybe the county can put a little pressure on the publisher to, you know, make those articles fully available to, if they're gonna be in the Globe.
Still doesn't satisfy the people that don't have internet.
No, it doesn't. No, it
I
doesn't.
mean, you think with the modern technologies, this is what's so frustrating, you know, to me too, is we've got all these communication tools, and not everybody uses the same thing. So how do you, and then with our high postal rates, I mean,
Yes, and just going up again.
and it's going up again, that presents even another, that doesn't take us totally off the hook, don't get me wrong. What I've tried to do is, during some of this, is, and here again, you gotta know that I've tried to go to every city council meeting and talk to them, ask them, you know, if they have any questions, explain some of that. I feel it's up to them then that they can disseminate that to there. Now, in the rural areas, I've had 2 different meetings when we were thinking about even going to this. I had 2 meetings, Mary attended, you know, we had about 10 people show up. But here again, how do you get the notification?
I didn't hear about it, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
I mean,
again,
it's
you know, and like I
probably
said,
something here again.
it was kind of under our radar for, unfortunately, and I'm not gonna say that we just haven't been monitoring every word you guys are saying, you know?
You can do that, watch it on,
Yeah.
if you got internet, you can watch it now.
Oh, good.
Well, Chase,
Our meetings are being recorded right now.
that's what I meant when I said when our meetings are recorded, they are available online. So you can go back, I think we even archived them, I believe, back to August 15th, I think, the first day, 2012, we started doing that.
Okay.
Well, is it possible, like, if they request, I mean, a copy, we could send a copy of the minutes or something, or, well, I guess if you get it posted, that would be good enough.
Minutes are on the webpage.
It's, huh?
Minutes are on the.
Minutes on the webpage, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But
just
they
saying, we're a
won't-
couple weeks behind right now.
No.
You know, 'cause this is the 22nd, and January 9th was the first
So we
one.
don't put them on
There's
until
a-
they approve them?
Right.
Our last meeting was last Monday, we just approved those minutes.
And they're on the website right now, the 14th.
Yeah, there's gonna be a little time delay, so.
Let's dig in a little more specific on the hearing. So, since Mr. Scott is here, you're at the top of the list.
Well, I'm not so much about the notices, even though I didn't get one. How did you go about determining how much our fees would be for the solid waste fee?
Well,
And if you did a study on how much tonnage we send to the landfill,
well,
or
the
how did you assess that?
the study covered a lot of things, but as far as the actual, how we measure, or how we calculated, the solid waste for businesses, the basic calculation is you take a dumpster size in cubic yards, and you multiply it by the frequency, a week that it's picked up, and then you equate that out to a yearly volume assessment, and then you divide it by our basic unit, which is $61 per 26 cubic yards, and then that'll give you, your volume assessment in terms of dollars and cents. And that's how we did it. Now, we do understand that, not every business has a dumpster.
Correct.
And in that case, you have to look at what other like-type businesses do in terms of trash, because it's not, I mean, it's conceivable to think that they do similar, especially if they're similar, if they're the same type of business with a similar size in terms of their operation, then you can develop kind of a base rate for any type of business, what's par for the course, so.
Well, I can assure you that if I had a full-size dumpster down there, it wouldn't have to be dumped maybe once a year.
And
So I don't like your assessment, what your calculations go off of. I mean, as a business, I just don't produce that much waste. I produce more waste at home than I do at the business, just simply because I burn all my paper.
And we can't, there's no way for us to know whether or not somebody burns their trash unless we go to every.
That's why I'm here.
Mhm. And as soon as we have that information, then no one metric, no one way to calculate is gonna work universally for everyone, but it does
Right.
work for most everyone, and then in the cases where it doesn't, it's because we don't have that very important piece of information, such as somebody has a burn barrel. Well, that changes your assessment, because what conceivably works now, you burn most of it, so, then we can.
That's what I do, is I burn 100% of it.
And then, based on that, we can do a reevaluation, but
That's
unless we.
why I'm here.
Mhm. Unless we had an appeal filled out, we wouldn't have known otherwise.
Correct.
So, now going forward, we can make our adjustments for next year, and also if, there's the second half of the taxes that will be due on May 10th, we can also address those for this year. But if we didn't know that there was a burn barrel there,
Right.
and if there wasn't a burn barrel, it would be conceivable. It would be, okay, it's not gonna be perfect, but that approximation is gonna be, it's not outrageous. So, now that we know that there's a burn barrel involved, then that changes things, so.
Absolutely, I'm satisfied with that.
Okay, so I believe, Chase, you need to,
I just-
visit.
Yeah, if you would like, I could just come by
Yeah,
and.
sure, just stop by, I got 4 burn barrels right out behind the building. I mean, that'll keep them out front, by the time I keep it cleaned up.
What was you assessed?
It's, originally was 224, I believe,
244.
or 244.
And then it was reduced to 122, and then you want it to be reduced to the base rate of 61?
I would be happy with that.
Okay. Then I'll just set up an appointment, pay a visit.
Yeah, the only problem, Mike, is because I'm a burner too. I live in a rural area, and the $61 is way more, if I was paying tipping fee, would be way more.
I'm happy with the $61 fee,
Yeah.
even for my household. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, because at our home, we share a dumpster. So, and it, of course, naturally, it goes to the landfill, so, you know,
Who picks it up, or
Martin's,
Martin stuff? So you probably got a report on that, you should have, Chase,
Mm-hmm.
you would have some data on that, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't have residential lists. And he said that really considers that as home. And is it like just a regular trash can that you put burnt extras?
at my business?
No, at.
No, we just share a dumpster with Rosie Holmes.
Okay. So, that.
And she's got it at her place of business, and we just take our trash from our home there. And everything at the shop, like I said, I burn everything at the shop, because I really don't produce, any, garbage to speak of.
Well, that's been pretty common, as far as like, even like sharing your dumpsters, you've got several businesses, even just within St. Louis Patch.
Correct.
Or anywhere that do share that, and that's some of the data, like, as we've gone through the PILS process.
I know businesses like that.
Yeah. Well, it's probably more cost effective for them too.
No, like I said, I don't produce any type of garbage or anything like that. If it's any metal, I'm keeping that.
I would too.
Yeah. We keep the vehicle behind the building that, if I have any leftover used parts or anything like that, it goes in that vehicle and takes it in to have it recycled. So, like I said, the only thing we have is cardboard boxes that new parts come in. And that's essentially it. And that all gets burned, and I have 4 barrels that I'll probably empty maybe twice a year. And if you wanna come down and have a look, you're more than welcome to, and I'm there from 8:30 to 5.
Okay. I'll do that. And I think we can make that concession for businesses. It'd be a bit of a slippery slope for residential, but I don't know if, you wanna set that precedent. So, I guess that would be the
Really,
one.
you're gonna have to assess each case by case on that, because there's a lot of people that argue that they burn, you guys say you burn, we burn. I
Mhm.
mean, you can get out in the rural area, I've got people say they go to the dump twice a year,
Right.
2 or 3 sacks of trash. And that's the whole thing about trash, if we didn't have all this environmental stuff, probably 80% of trash that was sorted properly could be disposed of by incinerating.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And saves us all a lot of headaches, and probably could be converted into something useful, but that's not where we're at yet.
Not yet.
So, you need to visit with them first, and then, okay.
Well, I'll just, come by later today.
That would be just fine.
Okay.
I'm done with my business.
Okay, thanks for coming up.
Thank you, Commissioner Chad, we'll see you today.
Let's see, Ryan Besser, I'm just going down through the list, I know you're here, I'm gonna hurry and go through the list. Ryan Besser, Uphold Solid Assessment, that's just residential.
It's a residential, if the house is occupied, they're not, appealing on any of the criteria that we have. It's just, disagreeing with the policy, which, everyone has the option to appeal. But whether or not we remove based on somebody not liking the appeal.
Okay. Do you want us to sign off on each one of these, whether you?
Yeah, if that's the final say, then yeah, sign off and
What do you,
get that.
are you signing off that the appeals are granted or they're not granted?
I guess you just make a note of that at the bottom and then
That's what I
give
was-
the county official signature.
Okay, well, then we all need to initial it.
Yes, correct.
What is the process if we disagree with the results of today's hearing?
I didn't even about that.
Yeah, I think you probably have to talk to your lawyer about how to proceed.
Pardon me?
You probably need to talk to your attorney about how to proceed.
Okay.
Which brings us to Mr. and Mrs. Wiley.
What is the county in charge of? Which, if we're looking for equitable, everybody pay their own way, then it should be a capitalistic type situation instead of government charge of it. I mean, to me, it's just like an extra step in the process. So why is the county in charge of this?
Because the legislature mandated it.
Oh, they mandated a provision of
The
it.
state legislature.
We have to have solid waste plan, and that's, so that's,
Oh.
it's kind of one of the.
That's where yours came from.
I mean, are you alluding, why don't we contract it out to a private business? or-
Well,
I mean,
we already got business, you got Deckenbaugh, you got Martin, you got all these other trash haulers already, and you just, the government's like a middleman in between. I mean, the general Joe Blow should be just dealing with the trash man. He shouldn't be dealing with the government and the trash man, you know?
And that would be an ideal situation, to take a burden off our back.
Yes, it would. Plus, it costs. It costs the taxpayer again because the government's in there, you know? We have to pay.
Well, but see, that's the situation that we get into, is we're kind of more or less mandated, is to have some kind of solid waste plan, and this is what was developed 20, how long ago would that be? And this is why we're maybe gonna have a solid waste committee, we can look at ways to revise, to be more efficient. This study actually even showed us some ways, and actually, as bad as I hate to admit it, this is, because I wasn't excited about this fee, was it showing people, we got businesses who found out we could cut 85% of our waste, they were just, because they wouldn't have to pay anything, basically, everything just went into the trash container, you know? Because at one point the sales tax covered it all, it's not covered.
Well, I don't want to get rid of rumor and all that, no. Is Atchison, the city of Atchison, paying their portion, once it's
That's
accepted?
one of our other cities.
Oh,
Withhold, I mean, if you look at, given 100%, no, there's at least three, and I just heard from another city, there's gonna be a fourth of withholding some, so.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they have, and legally they have a right, I mean,
they do.
And that's what we discussed that extensively last Thursday. I think that there is a consensus, I think among everybody, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think there's a consensus for everybody to meet in the middle, like Mike saying that, that we all need to work together on this. And I think, from what I heard that night, there was a general consensus that I think every big stakeholder in Ashland County needs to figure out what is that share, what's equitable, what's, as far as even getting into the solid waste committee, where should we go going forward? Are there efficiencies that we haven't realized? I think there's a consensus, doing something, right. I think most people most of us on any of the commissions we're not there necessarily when.
yeah, we're kind of things like everybody else, we're inherited something that we didn't necessarily create. Make a long story short, all good intentions when they voted this 20 years ago was great. But they found out that it was, and I just wish Pat would explain, he did such an excellent job, but it was found out that this wasn't, nobody's obligated because it's a general use tax. And none of these cities are obligated to pay a dime tax, even though the voters voted on it, because it's a county general use tax. As I told Dale, maybe before you guys come in, I'm a simple man, when I picked that up, when I see, well, this is a county sales tax, I thought, county's in charge of it, right? No, the county has nothing to say about it, other than however much they give back to us is what we can spend.
So shouldn't the proper step to have been to rescind that? Because weren't all the taxpayers
Well,
kind of
you have to vote that, you have to vote that now.
But maybe it should have been, yeah, maybe.
Well, that maybe.
Legally, maybe if Bessers and Wiley's are going, wait a minute, we're having a problem with the policy, because we're paying twice. Every property owner now in Atchison County is paying twice for this solid waste fee. We're paying on our tax bill, and we're also paying when we go shopping.
Yeah.
So we're paying twice for the same service, and I don't think the statute says that you can have multiple funding. We voted on the sales tax. I don't think that you can really legally change the purpose of that sales tax. And we can go to the HE, and we can,
Well, there-
we can go that route.
Supposedly the
Because
HE
it was voted on, so,
And I
but the
understand
way
that.
it was presented to the taxpayers and what's happening now is really misleading.
I can't agree with you, I agree 110%, but I've spent enough time, I tried, shortly after I came.
I know the county needs the money and can use the money. It's not that I disagree with that, but I just feel like this is like the fourth wrong. The way the sales tax issue started out, the wrong choice was made about which avenue they were gonna pursue to put this before the voters, and it left the loophole in there for the city of Atchison to go, well, we need money.
Let's don't blame all of me, I don't want me, because other cities are following.
I know, but after the city of Atchison started the ball rolling, so everybody else goes, well, let's use that same loophole because we can all use money. And I said, I understand that.
The one thing, yeah.
It's just that the voters voted for it under one perception. And it's being changed and rerouted, and now we're gonna go with another one.
The other thing though, is it's still being utilized for county if it's not exactly whether you think it's being deferred or whatever, it's still being used for county services. That's the thing that we're utilizing, what we're getting to provide general county services. We're not taking it out specifically, because there's not really anything in the county that we're not, like a city can hold back money, they got a specific project, okay? See, that's the downfall of it, and that's.
But it was voted on specifically.
That's what it was voted on, but we're talking about the legality, and that's what's frustrating to me, too.
Can we change it? Can we have a vote on it? You bring something up to the county next general election or whatever, so we can fix it?
Can it be changed? Yes. Can it be changed by the next general election? No. It actually would take an act of the Kansas legislature to authorize us to have that kind of vote. And that is actually about a 2-year process.
Did they do that in the original vote?
They did not, and I think they did not do it in the original one because it was such an arduous process to do it. So they decided we're not going to follow that process, we're just going to pass a general use sales.
See, we're assuming, because, we're all, none of us were a part of it, other than I was a voting member of the discussion. And I'm a little bit like Steve Kaplinger, who, he said, I assume that there's going to be excess, the county's going to use it for something else, it's going to reduce my property tax. And that's essentially, if the county had control of it, you could have your property tax, it could be used for something else instead of putting on a property tax. But that's the dilemma we're in now, is if we come up, if we don't have enough money to fund what we was originally projected to, we've got to come up with other ways to fund these county services, whether they're mandated or what the people want. And the only thing we've got is user fee, sales tax, and property tax. Those are our three methods. But yeah, it can be re-voted, but it's a little more complicated when you realize that all the governing entities have to agree on how they want to present it. I assume you was involved when they voted for the bulk complexes? No? Okay. That was done that way, they wanted a quarter cent.
No, do we need to get involved in that one too?
No, that's done.
Okay.
That was done.
All right.
And that was voted, countywide, 1% sales tax, and that went for one specific project, didn't go for nothing else. It locked, Pat's comment was, you get lockbox. It has to go, and it actually just flows through the county, and the county passes it on to a committee that takes care of paying the bills and keeping the upkeep on it. I mean, it's, I don't know, we got 15, 16 years, and then that sales tax, once that is paid off, that sales tax is sunset. And that's the other thing, if you revoted it that way, there will be a sunset date that you have to put a sunset date on there. Some kind of stipulation that this tax will quit. It can be revoted, but it will quit at so-and-so a time. And see, if it had been done that way, and these problems have been evolved, then people could have gone back and looked at it and said, okay, it's not working, let's either get rid of it, or let's correct it and do it the right way. But this process is gonna go on and on. I mean, this particular sales tax will go on and on and on forever, and be distributed that way forever and ever and ever.
And for a budgeting standpoint, it makes it a challenge. He listed the three types of ways or revenue sources that we have. I think everybody would agree it's not great to be dependent on one source necessarily, because then you get out of kilter, like he was talking about the ballparks. Great use of a sales tax, because for a specific purpose it sunsets. Maintenance and operations, use of sales tax. I don't know about you, but I don't see where there's a correlation between sales tax and our trash or communications, but it's there. It's something that helps subsidize it, and we're still using the sales tax dollars, you know, to subsidize our solid waste and energy communications. It's all, it's in our general fund, so the solid waste fees aren't funding the entire source for our transfer station, which, you know, I think we're gonna be looking at some pretty big things with the solid waste committee, you know, going forward on that as well.
And we'll be looking, you know, we have to renew the resolution come July, each year on the solid waste fee.
So fee that appeared on the tax bill, that resolution,
Yes.
that has to be done every July?
Yeah, June 30th, or essentially at the end of June.
July
Yeah.
1st.
There's a lot more control we have over the actual solid waste fee than the sales tax. Sales tax revenue will float, you know, based on the formula that we have. It can change. We have a lot more control over at least the solid waste fee as far as, and if we start seeing efficiencies like we think that we'll see.
Well, it'll help us
Reduce it.
still. I mean, we've got some new things that, you know, we had to take on an ambulance service. You know, I know they're about $400,000, but the county had to take it totally over. I don't know if that's the volunteer service, and had been, you know, had run that thing so efficiently for the western part of the county, it's probably saved us $200,000. Well,
A year.
a year, yeah,
Yeah.
a year at least, and maybe a little bit more. And now, where we've gone to a countywide system, where everybody's gonna get pretty much equal kind of a service, not to say that the volunteers didn't have good service, but now you'll have, we'll have 24/7 in Effingham, we'll have 24/7 in the city of Atchison too. So, that costs more money. And, you know, you put, the amount of money that what we're basically collecting on sales tax, and that's based upon, you know, these other cities not giving them out. I mean, if you did away with it, we would have to raise and put it on property tax, you're looking at about 10 mils on your property tax. We're collecting about 1.3 million, and, right now, 1 mil generates about $130,000. So, you think about that, and, you know, I think when you really get thinking about, do property tax people want to pay everything? I mean, that's not fair, because we got property tax exemptions, and some people, you know, some of their property doesn't even need
Well-
some of the services.
Well, that was
As
the
far as the
idea,
solid
the user fee,
waste.
right? Whoever uses more pays more. That's the way it should be.
Well, and that's why, you know, probably in all honesty, I mean, I would think outside the, you know, tipping fee is maybe as fair as anything when it comes down to it, as long as people aren't dumping stuff in the ditches.
But I think that's probably what's happening
Well, it could, you know, I've visited with other commissioners when I go to these conferences, and they said, well, there's always gonna be some, you got a tipping fee. But what's amazing is, you know, when I tell them how we've been funding it, they look at you and you fund it in sales tax. Because they don't have a solid waste fee and/or a tipping fee, is how they fund their solid waste. So, I'm not saying it's right, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to that too. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people don't like, you know, but the thing about the sales tax issue is that at least everybody who was contributing to the trash problem was helping to pay for it. Because you go to the store and you buy a bag, you know, full of stuff, all the renters,
Nonprofits.
is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that,
Yeah, you got
I'm
sales
just
tax.
saying you have all these non-property owners that were paying through the sales tax.
Right, exactly, to a certain
You know,
extent.
they're not gonna pay
But
now.
any of your nonprofit, I mean, some of those places, I mean, if you didn't pay sales tax, and some people pay more sales tax, you know, it's not perfect.
No, it's not.
It's not perfect. It's a very easy system, and for our haulers, I mean, I know exactly where Darryl Martin's coming from. If we went to tipping, they have, you know, we charge them every time they come out and dump their load, and he has to go back and come up with some kind of fee, how he's gonna charge the people that he's picking up the trash for. And so, it's pretty nice that they don't have that to do in their bookkeeping, you know, with the sales tax. So, I mean, that's one of the beauties of it. But there is some reality in the sales tax, because although it hasn't recently fluctuated that much, I mean, when you look at the figure, and I brought you a sheet, you got that sheet, you can begin to see, there hasn't ever been much more than $100,000 difference in the total amount of sales tax collected over the 12, 15 years and stuff. And so, but $100,000 is, I mean, if you have a bad year one year, and you count on it, that's, to me, that's a lot of money, I don't know. But, so I mean, to me, the key is, we gotta get, you know, we're gonna refine, we need to continue to look at this, refine it, and refine it, and try to provide services, at the most efficient and effective way, and use whatever funding systems that, is fairly fair, I mean, as fair as we can get. It's never gonna be, you know,
100%.
100%. And that's why I think we need community input, from people, even though, you know, if I was out there too, I'd be a little more biased, because I'd be fighting it too, because like I said, I wouldn't pay a tipping fee, because I sure wouldn't cost me very much, because tin cans and a little bit of glass, and, you know, I maybe make the one trip a month with a probably 20-pound sack, you know.
So other than the business and the residential, how did the county set that reasonable fee for each category established and divide the real property within the county service area according to categories and ownership? And I'm reading from the statute. The board shall impose the appropriate fee upon each division of land and provide for the billing and collection. The fees may be established, billed, and blah, 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 but then it goes on that you are supposed to be doing that by the use. And, you know, and I'm thinking maybe the way to handle this is maybe not a case by case. In other words, make people come and appeal. Maybe there needs to be a category for rural people who can and do burn. You know, as opposed to like people in the cities, maybe their burning is restricted, you know, and they don't have that option.
And I know that, and that was one of the things that we discussed when we were going about, after listening to Jim Heineke LLC, the group that did the joint study with us in the city of Atchison. One of the counties in the state that utilizes the solid waste fee was Harvey County. And using them as a model or guidance, that was one of the things that was not necessarily separated out as far as the burning of the trash, and that was based upon recommendations from Craig Simons and Jim Heineke that actually did this study. They see this, you know, on a daily basis more than what we did, and that's what we used. Harvey County, which they lived in Harvey County, we're very familiar with what they did on their system. So it was asked, we inquired about, there were a lot of other things. I mean, we talked about ag land, I mean, there were multiple different property types that were discussed or situations, so. Is that something we can address? Absolutely, I think it'd be a good question for our solid waste committee. Once it's up and going, I think it'd be a great question for them.
The only issue that I would have, because we did the residential and non-residential, with residential, it's a flat rate. Once you start building in exceptions for this, and exceptions for that, you start getting down a slippery slope, you know, because if somebody's a burn barrel, but they're within the city, then they can argue this. With a flat rate, it's just universal. And what we can do from going forward is we can reduce the flat rate to the point where, I mean, if we do things efficiently with our, with the curbside, with the larger companies, if we reduce our trash, then there's not as much need to reduce, there's not as much need to collect as much money. So that $61 could go to, you know, 50, it can go down based on how well we manage our trash. So it's, as the resolution said, it's not gonna go above 61. Now, it can't go down if we do things more efficiently, and I guess that's the one thing that I would say moving forward is that $61 is not permanent, it's not gonna go above, it is a ceiling, but as we manage our trash better, our solid waste, that number can also go down because the need to collect as much money will go down. So, that would be the suggestion for residential, is just keep it as a flat rate, but work on reducing the overall
But is that in
county.
compliance?
Pardon?
Does that satisfy the statutory requirement to do it that way?
Because you can assign different types of calculation to different land uses.
Let Pat answer
Yeah, go ahead.
that,
Because it says that you shall classify the real property based upon the various uses to which the real property is put, the volume of waste occurring from the different land uses, and any other factors that the board determines would reasonably relate the waste disposal and recyclable fee to the real property upon which it would be imposed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'm just saying that to have just a residential and a business, I think there needs to be a third category. I think really you need to have a rural
We have
residential.
more than just two categories. I mean, we have exempt, we have
that's
general.
not real property classifications, yeah, we have many, but I think, what you said was that it's use correlating to its fee. The $61 is the basic unit for 26 cubic yards generated a week. Now, you can go down, or a year, to 26 cubic yards, which is half a cubic yard a week, a couple trash bags a week. That is, when you average that out over the entire residential population throughout the county, you get pretty close to that half cubic yard a week average. Some will be lower, you know, some people will just have two people out in a house, but then you also have, you know, a family of, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. You take the whole population, you average it out, and it gets reasonably within that half cubic yard a week or 26 cubic yards a year, rather than a full cubic yard a year, that's quite a bit of trash, and that's even more unreasonable. But 26 cubic yards, that half cubic yard a week of trash, is a very reasonable number, and that's what the $61 is based off of. Because we're not gonna be able to measure every single person's trash, every single residence within the county. But if you can get to a reasonable number and assign a dollar value to that reasonable number, then that takes care of, you know, it's a reasonable number. So, we can play with the $61, but the basic unit of 26 cubic yards a year or a half cubic yard a week is a reasonable number for residential
I
based
thought
on.
you used that for the business. I thought
That's
the
the base.
26 cubic yards was for the business.
It's the base use.
They may have 10, they may have 10 times that, in other words, they may,
Generate more than
their
26
volume
cubic
may be
yards.
10 times that.
Right.
So anyhow, they're not getting charged 61, I mean $61 per unit, that's a unit, that's the unit base.
So it is kind of a universal unit.
The smallest.
Yeah, the smallest, right, that's the base unit, that's right. You know, now, I'm with you, I mean, we're probably, but, you know, you'll also hear the argument that, you know, like farms generate a lot of trash. Well, they do, but I mean, you know, we burn. I mean, you know, we burn all that stuff. I mean, you know, so, I mean, there's been some.
We mulch and we recycle and we, you know, I mean, there's just a whole lot of stuff that does, you know,
But
glass
recycling-
and plastic bottles is probably our biggest thing that goes to the trash.
Yeah.
And if the glass were recyclable, that's where it would be going. It wouldn't be going in the dumpster. The plastic bottles are going in the recycling. So hopefully that's generating a refund to the county for the expenses, you know?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Recycling is probably the right thing to do, but you missed part of our discussion. Right now, it costs us to recycle.
Well, when
That
I bought my
makes, you
farm,
look, you probably, the commodity price for recycled products is so low that you actually end up, because you have sorted stuff, it costs you more. See, for years, we paid, we paid this recycling out here at, west side of town. You know, they take care of all of it, and people have been pretty faithful about bringing stuff in, but we pay $18,000, that's a complete subsidy, we don't get anything out, we just pay them to manage it and haul it off. And, that's why, under even the new contracts that we were gonna sign, until commodity prices get back up, it would cost us a little more to haul off the recycled stuff versus regular solid waste.
I'm not sure where you live, but if it is, would be convenient,
on the furthest edge of Atchison County, we are just barely in Atchison County. Oh.
Well, I was gonna say, the recycle center over here, just as you come in town, they do take glass. And hopefully, before too long, we will get, a glass bin out at the Effingham.
Again? Oh.
Yeah, it will
I mean,
come.
'cause that's where we
yeah.
usually take it, is the.
Yeah, it's coming.
So, basically on your situation, as far as, decision, where we're at right now, I know you're still got questions, Chase is gonna get you some more information, you know, at this point, we need to make a decision going forward right now with, you know, with your appeal on a solid waste fee. Just looking at it, looks like a suggestion to, uphold solid waste assessment, so.
It doesn't fit the criteria that they bring out some good points.
And you brought up excellent points, you know, maybe something possibly consider solid waste committee, possibly if somebody, one of you may be interested, possibly in being that committee.
He keeps bumping me, so, you know, you
Don't bring it
really want
on.
me to be on the committee?
Don't bring it.
It's like going, shouldn't,
Yeah.
you know?
It's gonna be, 2 meetings here pretty quick, and then it's gonna be a quarterly meeting thereafter, so it's not a huge time commitment, but input is something that is gonna be valued, and I have a feeling with the group that we've collected, we're gonna get a lot of input, so,
You can see some, you can see some some changes next year. I look for some changes to be made. When you start something new, you know there's gonna be glitches. I mean, particularly complicated, we're talking about 8,000 statements, we found out, you found out we had really kind of 3 different coding systems kind of for property, and that gets a little bit confusing, and we were charging vacant lots. So you got a break. No, those are easy to appeal and refund, and stuff, but, I'm very much open to something that's, as fair as you can be. I mean, here again, if everybody was 100% responsible, a tipping fee would be real easy. It would cost us a little bit to get set up to do that, but it wouldn't be impossible, just put it that way. It would still add a little bit to the road and bridge crew, because when so-and-so dumps their old refrigerator in the ditch, they don't have to go out and pick it up.
Harold told me, I seen him yesterday, he told me that somebody threw some trash in the ditch just west of his house, over the weekend.
It's gonna continue to happen, I mean.
the people that owned my farm before I bought it, they never went to the dump. If it didn't get burned, it went in the ditch out on the farm, and I took a while to clean it all out, and there's still some in it, you know.
Yeah, they could have been reported.
Well, I don't know, you guys do flyovers?
Well, GIS might help us on.
Yeah, maybe some satellite, aerial imagery, I don't think we have any plans to buy a plane or helicopter anytime soon, but maybe some taxes, so.
Yeah, I know, that's, we used to haul a lot of our stuff to, before the transfer station had come in and stuff, that's where a lot of people, you kind of move ditch and, you put it in it and you try to cover some of it up, and stuff. Now that we got a transfer station, I mean, it's pretty easy, because it's not that far, Effingham's not that far away.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, looks like at this time, we do appreciate your concerns, especially bringing it up. Chase will probably Chase will get, if you want to do that right now, or I guess after the meeting, we can, Chase will get you that information. So I think you requested like 2 or 3 items. I know the explanation of solid waste you requested as well.
No. Like I said, I just did not feel that the county at this point had satisfied the statutory requirements as far as setting out the fee schedules. There were several statutory issues that I didn't think the county had satisfied those, and I didn't think that just 2 categories for establishing that fee and saying we're going to pay $61 I just didn't think it was equitable. The statute says you're going to have appropriate fee structures according to the use and the amount of volume that generated, and I just don't feel that the $61 has allowed for the fact that we're not doing $61 worth compared to somebody who lives in the city of Atchison. That's where I'm going, the rural, we don't have somebody picking up our trash. We can't just put it out there to the curb, so we are gonna be
But
more
they pay
careful.
Yeah, they pay for it, you would pay for it too,
Right.
you pay for it by hauling.
We do, but because it's an inconvenience or an issue that we have to deal with ourselves. We can't just take it out to the curb and go, okay, now the trash man's got it. We actually have to do that, and so we're a little bit more careful about how many times we have to go to the transfer station and make that run, and like I said, most of the time it's recycling, which if the commodity prices come back up would actually generate a bit of income or a relief for the county as far as what it has to pay.
Right.
You should be getting credit for
Right.
the amount of stuff that's not going to the dump.
Don't put that one in the bank, okay?
No? Maybe I need to write the contract. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think, Matt knows where we're coming from. And we can still monitor some of that at the transfer station, where it gets, if it costs us too much, or, even though it comes as recyclable stuff, tell the commodity, how do you run the price up? You make a shortage, right? They really want it, let them bid up. So, you put it in with solid waste and you just go right on and pay the lower fee. It's not, we're not talking big dollars, but I mean, you could say maybe 25,000, If the commodity prices would get back up where they were, it would be break even. I think I figured the best would be $10 a ton is what we would possibly make. So.
We're gonna appeal and all.
Isn't it fun talking trash?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
They're not gonna give you nothing.
I know. All good to
You guys-
count.
They're gonna collect the other.
Go ahead to Horton sometime. He's got this nice decorated silo up there. I'm gonna have him come put a new roof on my silo. The hailstorm a year ago, 45-year-old, the silo's been there for 45 years, and that roof, it just took the roof right off.
Oh.
Mm.
Put a dent in one of our Blue Harbor store, you run that one, you got a dent, looks like somebody drove right into it.
There's some pretty wicked stores.
Yeah, you guys probably was on the north, you probably didn't get too much of that, did you? It started just
But
south.
it's right over us, yeah. Yeah, we were one of the fortunate ones that. Okay, so Darius Glass Recycling went to the place here,
Yes.
because we come here often enough that we can take advantage
Yeah,
of that.
just off of 73 right in front of Abson, right by the express loop there, the recycle center. There's a big green container out there with a rippled glass badge on it. You can take your glass there, and hopefully by midsummer, we'll have a bin back it up again. So,
You have been there, you find out what, also if you have, where the transfer station is west of it, that facility may be shut down by midsummer.
Right.
The recycling center, and where he's telling you now here,
Yeah.
there's a chance that we may be converting that to an ambulance deal.
but also at Effingham, hopefully by midsummer, we also have a place where you can dump your recyclables. Right now you have to sort them, but we'll probably have a one dumpster where you can just throw everything.
Hopefully it's last one too, I think we could probably talk to them more about that, I think the price of the last one up there as well.
They're gonna put the ambulance at the transfer station?
No, not in Effingham,
At the recycle center here
Oh.
at Epson.
west, as you're coming out, going out of town.
Okay.
You know, we've already got rescue there, and it's pretty handy. We're renting a facility now, just, in the city now, the Effingham is converted where they have their volunteers run. It's got living quarters now, and it's, you know, it'll be the western part of the county, service there. But we're not there yet. I mean, we got some obstacles that we gotta come, legislature's throwing some stuff at us that these fees may have to, you know, if they cut property tax valuation like they're talking, we could lose 12% of our valuation on property tax valuation. There's some exemptions that they're trying to get through that will, some of the big businesses will get more tax breaks. We could lose $600,000 in property tax revenue.
So then,
Most of it commercial? Would most of that be commercial, that's what they're looking at?
so residential, that can make up the difference?
Somebody, well, I mean, that doesn't mean there'd be some cut in services too,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I mean, you hate to go down that route, but I mean, you know, we're gonna have to play the hand that's dealt. And this is, you know, this is starting, the federal level's already starting to cut what states are getting, now the states cutting what, you know, how they're helping us out. I mean, you know, we can take some stories on bridges and stuff, how we may lose a lot of funding to helping with bridges in years to come. And so, it's not a good time to be a county commissioner. That was one of the themes at our last conference. It was a good time to be getting out, and a bad time to be getting in. Is that what you heard, Bill? Yeah. So
Well, we're
bear with
glad
us.
that you were elected, and we're glad that you took it on, and because it takes somebody with some real, concern and willingness to, you know, because it's not a gratifying job, you know, it's a.
Well, we want to work with the public the best we can too. I mean, we have to have input, and they have to have understanding. I mean, that's why communication, you can't do too much communication to let people know what's going on and why, you know, some of these things have to happen. We just happen, you know, we're a low government entity on the total pole. You might, well, townships should be a little lower, but the amount of services that we have to provide or need to provide, we're at the bottom end, so.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming out and speaking with us. Okay, the next one, Robert Griffin.
Uh, Specialist, I think is that business. The garage, or the personal storage, business, so,
Beacons,
hmm?
Beacons.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, reducing it down to the basic rate, if we would require more information.
We verify it, I mean, just to see what.
Well, yeah, I could either pen the visit, or the other is the affidavit. That, I think that one's gonna be more for,
Mr. Scott.
well, actually, Mr. Scott, I can go, today and just verify that he had the burn barrel, and we can get it down to 61, so the affidavit wouldn't need to be, isn't necessary, but with, Mr. Griffin, it's $122, so he's paying $366 for 3 businesses. We reduced it down, I think it'd be 183, if we reduced it to 61 each, so, there's no dumpster there, so it is one of those.
At all 3 locations?
At all 3 locations, so.
I'm afraid you start changing this and that, man, you're gonna have to start from scratch, because for example, you know, I pay the sales tax, I pay the $61, I pay the $54 a month to have my trash hauled off.
Mm.
So why would that not qualify me personally? I'm not bitching, because I'd rather pay the $61 and eventually have it put on my property tax and cost me probably $600.
Mm.
But once you start giving into this one and giving into this one, you're basically starting from scratch.
Was this fee based upon dumpster size?
It was based upon, the other, like, type businesses, the other personal storages, and one of them did have a 2 cubic yarder picked up once a week, which would be $244, and I just took that as that's standard for, because it's a small dumpster for either his use cleaning out lockers or other people's use when they clean out lockers. But that was offered at once, so I thought that was pretty standard and reasonable to apply to each, but,
Well, so you're talking about somebody that those original storage units, didn't matter what size, I mean, some are bigger than others.
some are bigger than others, but the 2 cubic yard was the one that was assigned, because not all of them used, I mean, they were part of that 20% that didn't use. And so, 2 cubic yards picked up once a week, it's fairly reasonable. I mean, it's about the size of, 1 or 2 of those 95-gallon carts, so, it's not a huge amount of trash. But if you do want to start picking it away too, they pay a half cubic yards assessment for a year per facility, unless, you know, they're one of those facilities that they don't offer trash, that offer a dumpster at all, because people have to haul it themselves. But, I mean, just thinking about how you make that justification, but, once it was reduced to 122, that's, now we've reduced it essentially to a 1 cubic yard picked up once a week, which is a 95-gallon.
Maybe if you cut it in half already, I mean, I think you're close, I mean, we're gonna be looking at this closely, I mean, you know,
And whether that 50% reduction is permanent, because it did start out as this. Now, does that become permanent? We just wanted to work off that assessment, or was that the first year concession and then, so, I mean.
well, I'm hoping that once we make some of these designs, we're gonna have to, you know, if you, was that one that was reduced with that motion, is that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was originally the 2.4, now it's 1.2.
I would say with that in mind, you know, until we get more data, I wouldn't vote to reduce it anymore. I mean,
Would you, just thinking forward, after we do the, after you sign the we get past the 31st, we do like a final hearing and then sign off on all the summary sheet and all the changes get made. Do you want a little asterisk that maybe you need to look into it, for 2014? Some properties, it'll be, we need to, if we don't get an adjustment between now and the next go-around, say it does get approved the 1st of July, make a little asterisk saying maybe more time to look at data. Because there are a number of them that will just argue that, because we don't have an entire year.
I also want to be able to see which ones that got the automatic 50% reduction, because next year that probably may not happen.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I do have that on we had the original, and then you just move it over a column and just say reduce everything by 50%.
and I realize there won't be that many, but I mean, I really think we gotta look at that next year from a fairness standpoint, and just keep collecting data, and I assume you guys still weigh and collect
Mhm.
stuff.
Where's the appeal form? I don't even see appeal form.
I attached the 3 that, the 2 that will attend, and then I knew, Philip and George Wiley said they were like 80% sure, so I attached those 3 knowing that they would be there. The others I have here, if you wanna.
Yeah, I just, I mean, 'cause I know we're just looking at what says on here, and if you want each, possibly reduce, but I don't know what the situation was or what.
Kurt Porter,
Is that in residential?
I think one of them, he's renting. Yeah, so, 2 of them are residential, and then one of them is, he's representing St. Mark's Lutheran Church, which was reduced to the $30.50, but he's arguing that, it needs to be taken off completely.
Well, we can address that next year.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about
Let's see, so, those are those 3.
Yeah, drying my hands from dirt.
I figured it out too.
You happy to know?
What did we do with Rick? We decided to leave it?
Well, that's why I was asking him for the appeals form, because I didn't see anything.
He has all 3.
Well, we need to see one on, Gilpin too.
Yeah.
And you still got 3 more, as long as they file.
They filed, Dale Callahan doesn't have a voicemail set up, so I've tried them at different times of the day. The ones that said did not reach or left voicemail, I could try again, and then once we could set up first week in February to just finalize, because we get the 31st day, we get all of them in, everything updated, one final appeals meeting, and then sign off on the summary sheet, and we get those adjustments made. And hopefully, we're done with the whole appeals process at that point.
Do we have a goal when we want to get that first
Yeah.
I had 2 quick questions about that, and then we'll try and get that finalized by the end of the week, depending on.
What else, Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna go, some of these first. What else does he have?
Okay, well, let's
Who's this?
see.
Donald Cook County.
That's just his, that's the single one that I have.
Okay, okay.
Where on here, it says two different properties.
I don't know if he also appealed a residential that was vacant. Maybe that one wasn't part of the appeal that actually had, went on, I was verified.
It's a little confusing when it is.
You get some clarification.
Yeah. We need a little more clarification.
Well,
That initial list that you give us outside of 1 or 2, I think those we've kind of agreed to, because they're vacant. Do we need to get those, do we need to go ahead and sign off on those? I mean, rather than sign off everything, that way the treasurer's office can get the process.
Well, once the third,
I think you need to make a distinction on the ones where you're granting the appeal without having any sort of formal hearing, that's fine. If you're denying the appeal, I think the process requires notice and an opportunity to be heard. Or I should say, if you're not approving it, just based on the record that's there, so with that distinction, I don't
so
know.
it's two different sheets, because we're talking about the summary sheet. So I'll have the ones that are rubber stamped, they're good to go. The ones that, will need affidavits, because we'll keep track of those. The ones that had gone through the hearing process, it'll be separate, summary sheets.
I think there's 1 or 2 on that list that we raised questions on. And I think we have to notify them that they weren't gonna be part of the,
Okay.
and they had to be notified so if they wanted to come up when we have a hearing to appeal it, so.
Okay. At this point, it's, any given day, it'll be none to 4 that'll be on the desk downstairs when we come by and collect them, and then a number of phone calls, but those are all just information, so I won't have some questions about it. So, once January 31st rolls around, it will be, you get a few more, you file them away, and then the very next day or whenever the next meeting is, you have the summary sheet, and then we can say, okay, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy need to come in for February 6th for the final hearing to get a final decision. And then at that point, you make the updates, you give them over to the treasurer's office, and she gets the rebate process started. So, all in all, it's still looking like less than 200, so, which, terrible. That's 200, that won't be an issue next year if we get it corrected this year, so.
Well, there was vacant lots thing, I mean, that'll clean up a whole lot of the situations and stuff, so.
You read some,
I haven't read it.
it looks like on the Robert Griffin, there's 2 properties that he hauls the trash to industrial. If you read through the appeals form.
He has 3 properties, he hauls 2 of the trash
To the one. The main one on Industrial River.
so that one should have its assessment, or should they all keep their assessments?
I think we probably need to verify with him on that one. See if there's to see what's being hauled off. If it's a dumpster, before we would probably want to make any decision on that. We could probably possibly make a case looking at that, maybe 2 of the properties, but the one, if they're hauling the trash to it, let's see what that is, or what they're hauling off. Is it 2, 4 cubic yard, whatever that is.
Yeah, if they don't have a dumpster, I mean,
You can see that on the property, you'll be able to tell real quick. I mean, they indicate on there that both, 2 of the properties, they haul it to the other, one of the properties listed, one on Industrial Road.
This is like you talked to, is there, you need to check the trash hauler, see if, I mean, if they're going directly somewhere else, what happens?
Well, so the other 2, they said they're hauling it to this place,
To this point.
that place.
So they're all gonna end up the same place, and we just need to find out where their trash haul is hauled for, so we can ramp it over somewhere else. still gonna have to be, we're gonna have to address that next year, because there's gonna be, I mean, it's not any different than the people that are appealing because they may be using out-of-county trash service. I mean, that may be a thing, so that may open up a new can of worms. So,
But the other two, the Robert Griffin and Doxville County, we just need Chase to probably get some more information, verify.
Almost say he wants to, where he lives, that's not a business out there south, he wants you to pay that in the
Yeah.
versus business.
And I don't know what I have no idea what he generates or what, you know, out there.
The ones that we have, right now, the ones that are, they're the ones that don't have the dumpsters. Because if you have a dumpster, it's pretty cut and dry. And people, for the most part, haven't really argued that, other than, initially it was a little steep, but then when we cut it in half, I haven't heard anything from the major businesses. They're just like, okay, well, we were prepared to cut a check for that much, now we're cutting a check for half that. So, the 50% reduction was, I guess, the biggest key, because as soon as that went in, it's been people just filing vacant lots or empty houses at this point, and the occasional business that doesn't have a dumpster, so.
we should give you a reluctant, we don't want
Yeah.
something on these.
I think these are the only ones that we have.
Yeah, we granted,
These are the ones that we
there's three that
approved.
we left home, and he's still gonna check into.
Here's the one you need to verify.
Jody.
And then,
Those are the ones that I think I have.
alright,
You may, if you don't hear back from these other three, you may have to send them a letter
okay.
with, as to if they want a hearing.
Right, after, say, the first week in February, continue to, okay.
We need to add on our schedule at 10:30, we have that road closing hearing.
Put them on there.
It's not on there.
Well, maybe I want, you don't want to, I put it on there.
I thought it was on this too. Yeah, it used to be on there.
Maybe I want to, yeah.
It's on the website.
Hmm?
So I think it's on the website.
Yeah.
Paul, we probably need to make a motion to authorize, because we need Jeff's signature to sign this, written request for the managing operating reserve fund. We only need one signature.
Okay.
What's that?
It's the first quarter, 2013.
I would authorize the chairman to sign the, written request for management operating reserve fund.
With sales tax bond, utility bonds. All in favor, signify by saying aye. You did have two views. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
$689.56. And then also I've got a PO for 300 foot of crane cable for $1,068. mean, Pat did such a great job explaining it out there. I mean, he should stand up here and we should record it and put it on our website.
He did a good job.
Yes, I had a lot of people calling out.
I appreciate that.
It was easy to understand, and I think it opened some eyes to some people.
He's explained it better than anybody I've heard explain it so far, to be honest.
Well, I stay away from numbers. That helps.
Well, I think you get the high points and, the factual information that everyone needs to hear and understand.
Maybe you could just type it up and we'll put it on there.
That'd be too easy.
Well, Kaplan are recorded.
Do you think it'd be better for us to have that next meeting moved up a little bit closer, so we've got time for the budgets to know if there are gonna be any changes? We set it for June, and the budget's what, July?
Well, I think
That's gonna be ongoing, but we could, I think we just said tentatively, I think it's all everybody discussed. Some wanted it further back into the fall, some wanted it earlier.
we gotta have it before the first, we gotta have it by the 1st of June, if not a little sooner.
Yeah, I think we'll have it a little sooner than that.
I think you also really need to have the broader discussion about what is fair. Is the county supposed to have, if there's leftover money, how is it divided? Is the county retaining any of that, or does it all go to the cities? I got some leaders that, my gosh, I can't believe you're saying that when I suggested maybe the county ought to share in the those funds, the same proportion. I don't know whether the cities are on board with that or not. So I think that's definitely something that will get discussed.
Well, I just think you have 2 or 3 options, and I think it's just, we gotta start the discussion and figure out what we're gonna do from here on, because I don't think knowing what we know now, we can't really continue. Well, that's the bad thing about implementing this program, even though we've got some justification for some shortfalls, and needing some other funding for that. We still owe it to our taxpayers to have some say. If they don't like what we're doing, then we do have to go back and revisit what the 1-cent sales tax should be used for. And then we will feel more comfortable. I mean, if they have to know that if you do away with it, it's 10 more minutes. Or use the fees and start.
Right. I think the next meeting, we need to be showing why we come upon these charges and where we're at and how do you want to fund it. More or less, first we'll just kind of talk about it. I think this one needs to be more preparation on our part, Casey's part. Maybe have some,
Option.
yes, and show what our costs are and how much money we're short and why we're needing this money. How do you propose refunding it?
Yeah, kind of like more honing it in, 'cause I think at this point, obviously last week, we were just trying to get that discussion.
Just kind of get it
Open
started.
up.
Now, it needs to be more of us presenting our case, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and there's a definite tie into the solid waste committee there, because if that budget is approved as it were by the solid waste committee, that this is what's necessary to fund it, that really answers half of that question for dealing with the cities, so. It's gonna be a very important function of that.
Well, I think that's why we've got business entities and other people involved. We don't become the sole making decisions. We have some input, and that's what makes, I think, puts a little more legitimacy into it when we have outside input. Because they're going to be not as privy to some of the information that we are, and knowing what we're facing. And we may know, but we will know by the 1st of May what our circumstances are going to be with budget. If the M&E does come down, it's going to hurt.
I had a couple things. Do you want to do them today, or do you want to?
Yeah, we got time.
This is a resolution concerning disposition of the extra ambulance. We do have a resolution resolution, I think it's 1267. Yeah, 1267 was adopted in 2006, dealing with surplus property. It does provide that surplus property may be donated to other governments or no-profit organization if, in the opinion of the Board of County Commissioners, doing so serves the best interest of the county. And it goes on to state that donations require the approval by the Board of County Commissioners, excuse me. Sorry?
Is it resolution in 2006?
Yes, it was resolution 1267.
Thank you.
It was the surplus property disposition procedure. So, in working with Wes, he gave me that estimate of the value of $3,000. We do believe that it is surplus property that is no longer, well, first of all, it's not licensed as an ambulance anymore, but it's not needed, and really not up to date to serve the needs of the ambulance service now. The Effingham Fire Department has use for it, has agreed to take it and to take on some additional services in providing for rescue in the western portion of the county. So, my recommendation would be to adopt it. If you have questions, we can certainly give an answer.
Yeah, we can talk about this.
Yeah. Question, right, so.
Right, yeah, I didn't think it would be hotly debated.
And so the resolution number changes, or she's following the resolution, the resolution?
Well, I thought we had agreed that the resolution numbers would be the year.
Yeah.
Would that be 2013?
2013, 2013. That's okay.
I'll change that then.
I'm just getting resolution number for this resolution.
So she gets resolution number, what entertain a motion? Yeah, 2013, last year, 2012, I think was the first year we started doing, so that way you know which year it's adopted and essentially the number of all the resolutions, so I think there weren't a whole lot of resolutions that were passed maybe years ago, but it seems like in the last 2-3 years, since we get quite a bit.
2006, we were at 1267. So,
Back forward.
while we're waiting for that, you had asked me a question about the taxability of fringe benefits. The IRS has a good summary on their website. It's about 91 pages. Their summary of the taxability of fringe benefits. There were two major areas that I thought you wanted me to look at. One was the one that always gets into my saddles. If there's a conference in Salina, which we have every year, if I go down and stay in a hotel the night before and then drive back the next day, that nothing's taxable. If I get up and leave my house at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can be there at 8, that if I get reimbursed for a meal, that is taxable to me. That is the IRS rule, as silly as it is. And they even have that example in there of somebody getting up ridiculously early in the morning and working a 16-hour day. The exception seems to be if you take at least 4 hours to rest while you're there. If you checked into a hotel for 4 hours, and I would really not want to see the newspaper articles about checking into a hotel for 4 hours in the afternoon. But, but I don't think there's any way around that one. And I was incorrect about even the per diems are, there's 2 ways to do the per diem. They are also taxable. There's 2 ways to do the per diem. One is just here's a specific amount, use it for what you will. And the other is here's a specific amount, here's an amount you can use up to that, but we still need receipts for what you used. And in that situation, they're taxed only on the amount that they get over and above. So, what's required. So,
the one thing they're gonna change is the digital people.
Yeah, well, I know, they did change, when my dad worked for the state, he would do the similar things. He worked for the Board of Agriculture, if he had to go out to Hayes to look at something, if he got a hotel room, he didn't get taxed on the value of driving the car to work the next day. And, you know, he was saying, I can drop it off at 11 o'clock at night when I get back home, but you're not open. And which, so, he said there were people in their office that would get a hotel room and not say anything, so that they wouldn't get taxed, $4 or whatever it was, so, which would be a big waste. The other thing on fringe benefits was, use of county-owned vehicles for personal use. There is a general exemption for law enforcement vehicles, so that those, are not taxable to the people driving them. And then the other for, basically, if the vehicle is equipped with enough equipment on it that a reasonable person would be embarrassed to be driving it around as their personal vehicle, that they're not taxable. So, ladder racks on them or gas tanks or whatnot are enough to make them non-taxable.
So match truck.
Match
That's
truck.
always concerning, people are kind of 24/7 calling out Wes's vehicle, because he's under emergency management, he's got to call 24/7.
Right.
Would that be included?
Yes, it has adequate equipment on it, in my opinion. Joe Bowen's vehicle, similarly, has that equipment on it. I talked with Joe about it several months ago, and he said, you know, if you want me to drive my vehicle and leave this one here and drive down to Memorial Hall, I can do that, but, I don't.
If he trusts those vehicles, he's driving like right. They're getting some age on.
I did send to the, I probably should say this because I didn't bring what I sent there, but to the Walnut Fire District number 3, I did send a petition for them to have landowners sign for inclusion or expansion of their district. And when we get those back, if we have enough that constitute 10% of the area, then I will prepare the formal petition for them to execute. Basically, I get a lot of mini petitions, and then that's when we do one, just kind of incorporating that. And I suggested to them that they have one for each separate tract. So if the farmer owned 10 tracts, we'd have 10 of those petitions, just to make it simple. It does include a notation for a number of acres, so we can check that, and relief description of property. So look for that. Lastly, we talked a little bit about coming to an agenda. I just had two that I found. One was from what Leonard had given me on a computer disk, was they had a department heads meeting back in February 2001, and so that was still on the computer. And then one that had been prepared in November of 2011. Those are just forms, really. What I thought was missing maybe from the county one was public comment on non-agenda items. I know the city has that. They have the very first thing, and they have the very last thing. So if somebody comes at the beginning, they can comment on something that's not on the agenda, and if they think of something during the meeting, they can comment on it at the very end, and they limit those in the city anyway, I think 5 minutes, but that's never, I don't think it's ever been an issue. I don't think anybody's ever talked more than a minute or two to get something across. So,
Well, generally, some of those, I know, in the school, would you limit to 5 minutes?
how often do people go 5 minutes?
Well, generally, a lot of times you have just one or two people, I mean, you may have a lot of people, but one or two people become spokesperson.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's good to engage the populace and engage the voters. Candidly, I like having pledge of allegiance at the beginning.
I agree with that.
And maybe even invitation. That's a little hard to get people to come do.
Especially if you're at 2 times a week. The other thing that, would be great is having these like in advance. So if we had, with the agendas like planned in advance, we have all the information, the minutes, so when we get in here, we're ready to go. You know, we have some time to kind of look over, so we're not just, here we go, let's look at it and make a decision. It'd be kind of nice to have stuff prepared.
Well, yeah, I mean, if that's possible, yeah, we can do that, I think I have no problem with that. Probably shorten our meetings would be,
And those are your answers. That's your answer to it, because, having an iPad or a laptop computer, that those are just delivered to you and you can review ahead of time.
I prefer it versus paper. That's just, I mean, I know all of us are doing things differently, but that being my preference, I get stacked up with tons of paper.
What's that, okay, cost?
400.
Yeah.
My son-in-law looked up on it, and tried to sell me one, but can't see, but you get a pretty basic one for about 400, 399.
Yeah, this one just has Wi-Fi, doesn't have, if you're out mobile, it costs extra.
Yeah, do you have Wi-Fi at home?
Yeah, I do now.
Yeah.
Well, I've got, yeah, because, you know, you got it set up, yeah. He bought his son.
Yeah, you do,
set,
it's kind of.
so he don't have to bring all his cores to hook into my computer, so he can run his computer in that room, so we got access, we got Wi-Fi now in that. Now, I've got my other business, I got a laptop, so I don't even have to get up, you know. I just pull it out and use it, so.
Would probably be easy to prepare ahead for everything if we didn't have everything
Well,
figured out
there's
too.
people that will give you the information that sometimes they walk in with it, so they,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and you'll have to, you're not gonna get this all cleared up. I mean, it may take us a year to transition before people begin to realize, you know, we're gonna do this and that. My question is, I think we need to see what the department heads, whether they, you know, if we start going to the 2:00 afternoon meeting, would they rather have us meet 9:00? Is it better for them to meet first thing in the morning? Rather, you know, maybe have the day you have department head meetings or whatever, maybe have them 9:00. But here again, you're gonna have to make sure the media stuff knows about it, but that's just a thought. At 2:00, Matt could be out, you know, 9:00, he can be in here because he's probably just, well, I know I've met some of these crews, they're just basically going out and working and stuff, and I'm guessing early in the morning was probably better for him, and, I don't know. I think, maybe we need to send a letter to all the department heads and get their feedback as to when we have department head meetings, what they, so, I'm not for sure, you know, we'll have to ease into it. I mean, there may be times that department heads don't feel they have anything, and I wouldn't necessarily make them feel obligated unless we had something we wanted to ask them.
Yeah, I think the idea was just trying to schedule, if there is one day a month, to at least just meet, I think, just for communications.
I like the idea.
Yeah, we could set it more, I mean, you know, it's always gonna take a little bit of time, like what's a, you know, what's a date designated for each person. One thing I did forget on the reorganization meeting is the, spending limits on departments. We got some departments like, I'll just use road and bridge, they have a $500 spending limit per thing. $500 is not, Matt's up here all the time with purchase orders. I guess we got elected officials at $2,500 and department heads at $500. I guess, I don't know, I just look for some suggestions or guidance. I mean, we go for budget, I mean, I'm just thinking that.
You could change that from year to year. I mean, I don't know, just to monitor it, make sure it doesn't, I don't think it gets used because it doesn't.
We still have to sign off on, it's just, But I just know that you get, you know, we just saw 4 tires and those on a smaller vehicle.
They should do it like what the nursing home does, they do it 6 months total, but, you want tires or repairs, just.
Oh, they have a general
You
purchase.
just did it. I think they owe second.
Yeah.
What departments is that? Really?
Senior Village is the only one I think that does that right now, I think. I don't think anybody else does that.
I mean, Joe doesn't come out very often for maintenance, and, Matt's the one that really comes up very often.
Yeah.
Matt Williams.
That's
Sometimes
all
sheriff,
ambulance.
sometimes sheriff.
That's it.
Sheriff would too sometimes. Yeah, if they exceed 2,500.
Yeah, they have that situation.
I'm just wondering if we should have something across the board, like the same amount.
Well, but the only thing is some of those don't have a high budget. They could spend a lot of their money just bingo. I mean, I guess they have to be accountable for it. You know, Matt's got a $2 million some dollar budget, 2,500 is nothing for him, but somebody else has got a $190,000 budget. You know, I hate to micromanage, but you're gonna have people out there that say if you don't watch somebody, you know, so I don't know. I wouldn't mind exempting Matt, or raising Matt's to 2,500. With the magnitude of his budget, I'd have no problem with that. We need a resolution. She's got some resolution. Do we wanna change this resolution? Do we wanna call it 2013 dash so-and-so now?
Yes. What is the resolution number?
The resolution number will be 2013 dash 1357.
Okay.
I would move to adopt the resolution, which is declaring the 91 Ford ambulance surplus property being transferred to Atchison County Fire District Number 2.
All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
We just need 1 copy signed.
Yes.
Chase.
I had 2 quick questions and I can get out here.
Well, I got a question for you, so go ahead, go ahead.
One, is it okay, do I need to get any kind of special permission to use the commission room for the first solid waste committee meeting, January 31st at 4 o'clock?
You can talk with Melissa Hale, be sure that nobody else is using it.
Okay. One second.
Maybe.
Do we have, or one of the commissioners going to sit on that committee too?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Jeff's nominated, or Jeff's having pencil it in until we figure out which one we wanna, because we did put Matt, myself, and, a commissioner to represent the county contingent, so.
Yeah, I think that's important because we need to.
Oh, yeah.
And then.
That may be non-voting.
Right, yeah, I think they become kind of an ex officio member and all that. But it's, the committee only has advisory powers.
Correct.
But they probably will have, you know, they may have to get a vote or consensus some kind of like that, but yeah. And some of those meetings might, with who serves on them, you may have to have an evening meeting.
Well, I wanted the first one to be somewhat conducive, but not, like one of those off-sites for the first one, just get people here. It was January 31st and then February 13th. Get 2 right out of the way, set up the committee, you set up the objectives, and then do a quarterly meeting to address this one. With the July 1st, because the first meeting would be April 6th. The first quarter meeting would be April 6th. I guess we should really slate to have a decision or a recommendation as far as the solid waste policy to a later quarter, but we need something within that first, because the next one is gonna be July sixth. So at that point, it'd be, the community advisory role in that capacity will be gone, so, as soon as we figure out, because I've already penciled in certain topics to handle as they will come up within the year, get that submitted. The other question, because, it was suggested, 409 could host one, we have other sites, BC could host one. This is kind of funny, but, if it were a night one, and because I know Jerry's again, has suggested that it be used as a facility, but that would be at some cost, so. For the first one, it's just gonna be here, it's gonna be a quick 1 hour meeting. For any time afterwards, and I think this may be a bit premature, but is it okay to, incur some kind of costs for like, either rental space or, one suggestion was if you bring food, they will come, so. Having some kind of, just, it won't be a lot, but having some kind of.
I suppose if you had something snacky or something like that, I guess I wouldn't necessarily get into the idea of with as much community buildings and stuff that we have access to, right? To me, it's kind of good then too, like the school districts each hosts one, and then the team, it's kind of an advertise, it's kind of a nice deal for them to show, have an opportunity to show this, right? But I would guess that we could find something in our budget that, you could, get cheese and meat, or just something snacky and stuff, and.
So, because I'll try and get the date, I know, people have been asking when and where, because it's, yes, I want to be on, but when and where, is scheduling, so.
We just need to.
31st is here, the 31st will be here at 4 o'clock, and as soon as I check with Missy, that'll be good, and then the other dates will be to be determined.
I have two names for you.
Because you commitments that you got so far, how many names do you got?
The city of Atchison has their unofficial list,
It's tonight.
I think
it's
the
tonight,
commission has to approve it, but they have their list, and Effingham has, Kirkland.
Let's go to, wants Margaret Jacobs.
Have we heard anything else from Huron or Lancaster? There should we hold our breath for, because you have said something.
I think it's told her.
And we mentioned this at Summit, so, if they have that, I'll need.
You can always add, if they,
Send them a reminder.
we could, those, you could send them to her, right? I would doubt that Huron would, but Lancaster may, I don't know. They actually, one of their council members works with the solid waste, so.
Really?
Be ready.
Isn't he one of the ones like on the solid waste committee?
Yeah, probably.
Interesting.
With him.
He wouldn't have to have it. He would have himself fit in.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I feel like I don't remember seeing him there.
I've been to the, I get to know all the council members of the city and stuff. Of course, sadly enough, he's related by marriage, so.
Which one are you two? Which one are you two?
We'll do also, I've got plenty of time, but if they would have been on the meeting, that does bring up, I committed to another meeting on February the 7th at 1:30. If we meet on February the 7th in the afternoon, I will not be able to attend. Do we want, if you don't have a lot of agenda, I'll dismiss it, otherwise, try to, you know,
See, it's,
I know,
The tenth is a Thursday.
Thursday.
excuse me, 6.
Okay.
I'm gonna be gone the 18th and the 20th. Or, yeah,
Well, I know we're not gonna hit everybody, but it's, if it happens to be something critical, I will do it. It needs to be,
Well, we
I
could
mean,
do
what do you
about
don't want
4 or something
on
like
that
that.
day?
pardon?
When, if somebody calls to set up a time, is it critical, something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I mean, so like maybe I could put it on a different date.
Well, if something needs a decision or something that way, which I'm not real crazy about, somebody brings something all of a sudden, and it's a major issue, why you really need to think about it for a meeting or two, but, I only bring it up, I mean, you know, if we're gonna start setting that 2 o'clock meeting, why, that's fine with me, just go ahead with it, and I can start trying to schedule some of my other meetings, if I have, that fall on those dates in the morning rather than the afternoon. So, and I will occasionally have a conflict here and there on that, so.
Then we're gonna do like Matt you mentioned earlier. It's easier for him to be here at 9 than it is 2.
He seemed like he was coming to our afternoon, when we did a few afternoon meetings, he was,
Okay, I mean, it's,
well, I think it's just purchase orders, which,
Yeah.
that's pretty, you know, that's why, you know, if we can make it a little more efficient,
Or if you just set one time, people can build their schedules around it going forward, as far as, you know, public.
well, Matt has 2 departments, it would probably be, we ought to have it set up, that he, you know, he may ought to come in at least once a week. And he can handle that, everything off that one meeting possibly. You know, for both departments that he looks, those are 2 pretty big
Yeah.
departments, not to downplay any, you know, any other departments, but that's, you know, Peggy's got a big department, and, you know, she very seldom comes, so. So that's just something to think about.
that's true. We probably need to at least have one meeting that week, basically.
Yeah, oh yeah, we need that for.
We could, maybe, 30th, we could do on 30th, let's just see, let's get, you know, if there's not a whole lot scheduled on that day. You know, we just want to meet the 4th that week. You're gonna be on the 6th.
You're talking February,
Yeah.
so you're gonna be.
The 4th, well, just meet on the 4th possibly, if he's gonna be on the 6th, then he's got not a whole lot on there, we'd probably get a lot of things. taken care of on that
That's gonna be our first 2 o'clock meeting, correct?
No,
2 o'clock is January 28th.
28th,
Okay.
next week. I think if you get it out soon enough, even if we have to extend the meeting on the 4th, to get some stuff done, I think. And you don't have to cancel on that part, because there'll probably be, again, a meeting or 2 coming about state fair time that I will have to miss. And, yeah, we need to, now, do we meet on, are we off on President's Day, the 18th? Huh?
Yes.
So we could probably go ahead and meet, when are you back,
I get back late,
the 20th?
10 o'clock, I get back in at 10 o'clock.
try to accommodate everybody a little bit, if we want to meet until we start with the building, if there's meetings where we're gonna have one meeting that week, we could make that an advance notice that, that week we'd be meeting on a Thursday. I mean, you post that sooner, if nobody can complain. Or should we put it on, turn it on, internet service. Do you have any problem with that, Bill?
Meeting on 21st. You never know how, what's gonna come up the meeting, but in past boards, you start moving the dates around, it gets to be a hassle, and there, we just set the dates, and if you're there, but there's, 6 of us on the board, so 5 of us on the board, so that's gonna be a difference. Like if there's nothing real serious on the 20th, it's whatever.
Okay.
It's whatever you want to do. You want it 21st, I'll be here.
Let's leave it on the 20th.
That's fine.
We can Skype you if we have to.
Yeah.
All right.
FaceTime.
So are you doing all of these at 2 o'clock, or are you doing, or, I mean,
Are we gonna, yeah, we need to.
are you just gonna do it for a month to see how it works, or you, I guess I just need to.
That's what we talked about last week, we weren't sure if we wanted to try it, I mean, we talked about even possible work session too, I mean,
The ones at the round table down there at the thing, they all had the work sessions and they loved it. They thought that much, they got more accomplished.
That's gonna take a lot more planning, and we're gonna have to have, I'd be caught, or, I enjoy the concept, but I think we have to ease into that so we can, so that, whether it's department heads or whatever, the people, where they just can't come to our planning, so here's the stuff, we need to have that stuff, in advance,
Oh, yeah.
What we're gonna be dealing with and stuff, so.
What we could do during February is leave it at 2, and then, as we get, like, into March or something like that, as we get, progress through next month, see how it works out with the afternoon meetings, then maybe look at maybe March. Possibly, I mean, my preference would, it would be nice if we had an agenda, we had everything known in advance, we had everything scheduled and structured out with a work session, I mean, I would take a look at possibly Monday afternoons.
When you have a work session, is that, basically, now, is that gonna require Paul H, you wouldn't have to be, because we can't take any, we don't do any action, or how's that?
We don't take any actions, I think it's probably whoever we want at the work session.
Yeah, they're still public.
Yeah.
You don't have to take minutes, and you don't have to.
And you don't take
Yeah,
action.
you don't see action either.
Yeah.
But like, do you have to declare the work session open, or? Open,
I suppose.
if it's not an open meeting, that's probably good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a meeting in that sense, because there'll be discussion of county business, but,
For the past commission, when someone put in they had work sessions for the budget, did they officially, did you record anything officially, or they just announced that they're gonna have a work
I
session?
think I wrote down, I mean, if they did a work, you mean like for budget?
Well, or any kind, I mean, the budget, whether it's a budget work session, or whether it's just a work session to work on items that you want to discuss.
We had
I mean, it's just
a couple
a
extra
work session
meetings for budgets this year.
How did you do that? So you just, was it recorded that there was a work session, and so, no action taken?
Yeah.
and hopefully this year we'll get it sooner.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the department heads to start their planning in March or April instead of in August is a bit of a challenge.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, I don't know, maybe a phone call to one of those people that said they loved it and find out what they do would be, a good thing.
That was also in Miami, does it?
Yeah, you're right. They meet Wednesdays, is that right? Wednesday afternoons?
I don't usually
Twice
do
a week.
I think it was on Wednesday, wasn't it? No, I think
they
it was.
meet twice a week.
You should.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they only meet once.
I'll call George.
Yeah, inquire about that.
Ones at my table, most of them had the work session in
That's what I thought Mandy did, but.
If we're gonna do a work session, you know, in a meeting, I don't know about two, that's like two separate packets, two separate agendas, that's a lot of work to do.
I don't think we need to, like, if you make
Yeah.
a full day, you start at 9, you get your work session.
Do they bring in lunch, or do they break for an hour, or what do they do?
They serve at my table. Do what's there.
And maybe that's something that you wouldn't have to have every month, you know, maybe, I don't know. And down budgeted, that would be fine.
Well, I think we need that work session, we need to post the budget, we need some work sessions and stuff, you know, speed thing.
We had pulled, 2 o'clock at least, when it started on 28th.
You could have, you probably could have these hearings for the work session, but you know, just didn't take any action until you open the meeting up.
Public hearings, I don't think so, I think they have to be their own, time, and you'd have to make a decision at that.
Back then, okay, so that way they have to fall under the meeting time.
Well, if we're talking about the appeals, those hearings, yes, you make a decision then. If you will have in a couple of weeks a public hearing on whether to close the road. You don't make a decision at the public hearing, you make a decision at the conclusion, after the public hearing is over. So, in the one, you're acting in a quasi judicial manner, in the other, you're acting in a legislative manner. Legally is the difference.
So is this the actual hearing that we're having tomorrow?
This is a public hearing.
This is the hearing, and we will take, after we come out of the hearing, we will take action.
You don't have to, you may take action.
We may
You don't take action during the hearing.
Those,
Or what do we call it?
Table it.
Table it, yeah.
I think we want to be fair, but we also want to be firm with, that we don't, you know, start giving in, catering what too soon, because we really don't know where our money's gonna be for what, May, you said?
what do you mean?
Or if we cut all this solid waste.
Yeah.
And then we project and we get, what, 300,000, or that's what we're shooting for, through the solid waste?
No, I think you're, because didn't you have, I think I've seen some figures that we've collected quite a bit more than that so far.
Okay. Plus we're ahead of pace with Steve Ashton, we got 200 some thousand in there last week. 200. So it's part of the which we should be good cash flow.
Yeah,
Cash flow wise, we're in good shape for a while.
Well, we're gonna have some transfers,
Mhm.
it's always, looks in pretty good shape, that some of that's to be applied, you know, however you do it, I'm still confused on how we transfer some of that, but, we were counting on the savings from that, you know,
Oh, the
to make up for the deficit, yeah.
Okay.
The surplus, or the excess that we had in solid waste this year was to be applied to was to help make up for where we transfer that has to offset the revenue shortfall in the solid waste fees.
And Matt was wanting, a little bit of that money because it was like 190 was left over, and he wanted some of that.
Well, we'll have to, I think you have to keep a little bit in there for cash balance, you know, because he had a pretty good cash balance he started with last year.
That's something we could do if the sales tax gets changed. Why couldn't we say it goes towards joint communication and all that, and if there's any excess, it goes to road and bridge?
That may be a hard sell.
Well, when you do your statute, I mean, there's a statute that details what closes out to what you could transfer to what. So, I mean, if we wanted to create another statute, that would be even harder to sell than what we're trying to sell, is to have a statute that defines that transfer, or as a legal transaction.
To me, as I look at this, it makes a lot more sense to have secondary funding. And if you've got a surplus, okay, you can adjust either a user fee or property tax, whatever other, in other words, using the sales tax as a supplemental, maybe a major funding, but it's still supplemental, has to be supplemented by another funding source. But any fund like that has variable revenue generating needs to have a certain amount of carry. I mean, anybody will tell you that. You need to have a little cushion there that you can, in a year that you have a little bit of a shortfall in revenue projections.
Yeah, because you're limited on capital improvements, what you can
Yeah, what you can transfer.
restrict it, yeah.
One idea would be for 2014, take the sales tax out of the general, figure out what the sales tax is gonna be, just put it in the budget very simply, and then whatever the unencumbered is, just stay in that fund for next year. So if it's joint communications, solid waste, and something, or any changes that we make, put it into a general fund, and then it's unencumbered cash balance will then just be cash balance going into next year, instead of having to be transferred. So, that would be a real simple.
Well, until we, probably until something
Okay.
is better resolved in those situations, it would be kind of nice so that people knew exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, some people are really
Okay,
particular
right.
about, they want to know exactly, where it's going. I don't have any major problem with that, but, it's just like under our new system, yeah, I can't honestly say that 50,000 or 100,000 is going because it's all in general. But the same token, when you got that general pot, it's applying to county services that you would have to either use a user fee or property tax, so I mean, you're offsetting that, the use, so I mean, but the same token, because of it being a voting situation, I think within a couple of years, we need to address, here again, I think it's gonna have to be a combination of all the government entities, come to some kind of agreement and a grassroots, movement as to what they want to do. I mean, we're just gonna have to keep informing people, this is what could happen, or this is how much property tax relief you get with sales tax, and all the entities need to decide, how much, or how we want to distribute it, that's all there is to it, and then we have to tell them, well, this is the consequence of that, and then go from there.
Yeah.
It's a great, I mean, it's been a great revenue source for the county in keeping property tax.
Well, the great thing about sales tax is everyone puts something into it, whereas
Well,
property
pretty
tax, pretty much, but I heard.
And you get out of county.
Out of county as well.
Right.
But one argument that I heard, and this is something, somebody brought this up, that, things like, law enforcement and ambulance, well, property tax owners, by and large, don't really frequent the jails or use all that much.
No, but they got.
They benefit from
Everyone benefits from it, but if you want, the argument that was framed was if you have people that, use the system as well, sales tax, and everybody buys something, so.
Same token, I mean, I don't have as much problem paying property tax to it, sure, because they're kind of looking out for your property.
Oh, absolutely, property taxes, property owners definitely have more to lose as well, so, I mean, they have their assets and things.
I have moved, in terms, of course, I'm looking at it, from a farmer's, maybe the agricultural aspect of it. There's probably less correlation between property tax on 600 acres of land that's doesn't have any buildings or residents on it, putting an ambulance 100% on property tax.
That's why I think sales tax is perfect for the ambulance, because everyone pays into it in some way, and
Well,
the businesses may not
People who
necessarily.
come into town may have to access it.
Exactly.
You know, I think it, I don't have a problem with subsidizing. I mean, you know, we were funding ambulance with 2.5 mils, basically.
Yeah.
But that, of course, that was only generating about $350,000.
Yeah, before, now it's not like 5 or 6.
Well, it would about double, basically, what would have to do if you put all the property in place, but that's what, to me, some of the sales tax was used for that, even some of it for joint communication and, solid waste, and we have subsidiary, and then we have secondary funding sources, whether it be user fees, like in solid waste, tipping fees, or in the case of maybe, you know, putting part of the joint communications. I've had a suggestion that you don't necessarily consolidate fund, but you make it a subcategory public safety. And that's what joint communications, and that's essentially where public safety kind of originates. And then you have ambulance under that. And that would be funded by so much percent sales tax, and then the rest of it's property tax. And then solid waste could be funded by a certain percentage of the sales tax and a user fee. But in either instances, when you use sales tax, you better have a reserve somewhere, because there can be fluctuation in that. I mean, one business, God forbid, but, you know, tornado don't do wipe Walmart out. They could be down for 3 or 4 months, or maybe not even decide to build back here, and that would wipe out a pretty good revenue source of sales tax now, so.
It's good to have a good balance.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, I think, is to have a balance. I think Gary Franklin, he kind of brought that up, you know, that was, you can't put, you know, necessarily everything on one thing and stuff. And here again, you're never gonna balance it and make it fair. So, or if you figure it out, Chase.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
You have so many, good listeners.
No, and, you got, you know, if you guys want to go ahead with that, just go ahead, you know, don't worry about it. I think we're gonna confuse people if we start altering too much.
That's my point, I was going already, we get jumping around, and suddenly say, well, I thought it was this time, well, I can't think of this time.
Only, to me, if we look ahead and we see that maybe it's gonna be something that we have to deal with, something, you know, major, that we all three really need to be here, so we can have our voice, heard why, that would be the only thing, so just leave it, you're gonna go ahead and go, let's just say we're gonna try February with, 2 o'clock meetings. Okay. I think we ought to be setting a goal in, now, we need to, like I said, maybe get a letter out to department heads, to see if meeting with department heads works better in the morning or afternoon. I suppose we could use, if we do go to a work session, say starting in March, you could have them come in during the work session too. Might be the time.
Well, there's nothing to take, well, you can take action in the meeting.
No, you take action in the meeting, you know,
So we want to have one by 1, 6 or 10.
just go ahead and figure on the 6th, and don't change the time just on like that, so.
Okay.
I think we need to, just so the minutes reflect that our goal, or we're gonna start on the 28th and go through February, at least have 2 o'clock meetings.
Sheriff. Hello. I was, caught up and did some inventory, down there, but I've got one issue that's come up is the front door to the jail. There's no handicap access. And, like a button to push open the door to come in. And so I called R&A Glass. Robbie Emery came up yesterday and he measured, and he's gonna give us a quote. I didn't know if we need to get another quote, how many quotes we need to get for it, but we had a lady come up in a wheelchair and she threw a fit. I wasn't here when it happened, I guess, but she couldn't get inside the door, and there's no button, no intercom, no nothing outside.
Which
Rob-
door was it?
front door of the jail.
I'm surprised there wasn't one put in there about 12, 13 years ago.
Well, I am too. There's,
88.
where is the intercom? Is it in between the two doors?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And the intercom, Rob doesn't think that, he was gonna measure and he was gonna check on ADA regulations if the second door needs to have an automatic, or if we need to put the problem with the intercom is it's too high for ADA. He measured that, he's pretty sure that that's gonna have to be moved down, if that's the way we're gonna go, or if we can, install another, automatic opener. But the only problem with that is that after hours, it's locked, so they're gonna still have to use the intercom. So I think the intercom's gonna actually have to be moved down.
I'd say put a handicap on that side, move the intercom down, put something going in.
That's the way Rob recommended that. The only thing, I don't know, there's a contract with as far as the intercom goes, with the same, is a camera system, I think. Is what Travis told me, but I'm looking into that right now to see if they have to mess with it. Rob thought that his electrician could just move it down, and if once he got into that, I don't mess with it, then we could call somebody else, but Rob didn't think it was gonna be that much of an issue. If they put a little slack in the line in there, just we can move it down to ADA regulations. But the main thing, on that, he thought that putting a post in the ground with the push button on it, because of.
Not mounted to the wall.
Instead of on the wall, because the sidewalk, they could run the wheelchair off the side of the sidewalk if they got too close to try to touch it on the building. And if not, we'd have to pour some more concrete there. But
Do the doors have to be widened? I guess that's my next
he
question.
said there are 88 doors, so.
Okay.
That is surprising, we had sales that way, we kind of looking at doing something.
Yeah, I'm surprised not before that.
Not been
Before
an issue until now. So, but anyway, he's gonna get a quote, and I don't know, do we wanna get another quote, or?
But just how much do we think it's gonna?
He said it was.
Typically over 10,000 is what we require.
Okay, I don't think he's gonna be that, it's just, he says remote, hook up remote control one, so it'll be wireless.
I would think the $1,500 might be.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably at the most, probably, but.
I mean, that's just a shot, I mean, I get surprised when I do, but.
I wouldn't let him know if something before I quote him.
Right.
Boy, does that door need to be reversed? Because it opens out into that space and.
That's why I said put a
You're in
post,
wheelchair.
if they put the post far enough away, there's a certain, he knows the regulations on it. Where you push the button, that door opens up as long, there has to be so many feet between the door and the wheelchair. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm talking about in between the two doors. Can you have a wheelchair in there and have it open?
then you wouldn't be able to get to the intercom.
I'm sorry?
Then you wouldn't be able to get to the intercom if you opened in on that first door.
So that door has to be reversed?
The door opens out.
It opens out.
I think you're talking about the second.
I'm talking about the inside.
The inside door opens in, or, I'm sorry, it opens
Into the atrium, or whatever you call it, right?
Right.
Opens into the hallway.
Yeah, is there room in there for there to be a wheelchair between those two doors and have the other door?
Yeah, well, that's what he was saying, that that's why he didn't think he'd put another button in there, because it would hit the wheelchair probably, that other door, because it opened. The first door opens outside, the second door opens towards the outside as well, so you can't,
It does, okay,
so you, basically, the wheelchair, you pull the wheelchair in, the door would probably hit at the feet, it'd be pretty close, he was gonna look at that, but I think the general public doesn't have access after hours either, so, they would have to use the intercom. I think the intercom's just gonna have to be moved, for them to be able to push that button. That's the,
Wonder what it costs to take and move the second door in, instead of having an intercom, maybe have a button, because then, when they push the button, one of the dispatchers, instead of having to come around and open the door, they hit a button and the door opens.
They buzz it now.
Mm-hmm.
the problem with that is.
Except during the day.
Well,
But it's unlocked.
Yeah.
that would, see, I don't know how that's all, how that works, because they can actually buzz you in from the tower to that door after hours. It doesn't open the door, but where that button could be an automatic button at all times.
Do you let people come in after hours?
they do for to bomb people out and stuff like that.
You
Hmm.
might
There's no-
change that
That,
door.
I was gonna say, that second door's gonna be,
Yeah.
too bad it's not a sliding door, like it slides open and.
There's-
That would've been ideal.
You can pull, they'd be able to come into that little hallway, or whatever you wanna call it, enclosed area, and the door was shut behind them, and there's still enough room for that door to open up, but somebody has to come out and open it. Now, maybe we talk to the people who who handle they're buzzing it in from the tower. If they have something where they buzz that in, they could activate to not only unlock the door, but to open the door. But when it opens out is your issue, because if it hits that wheelchair, then you have another problem. I mean, that's.
Yeah, if I was changing the door.
I just feel it doesn't feel like there's enough space in there, once you get in there with the wheelchair.
Rothko is very, very close to the regulations.
If you're doing something, making a change, you better just
You gotta do it right.
do it kind of right, have it
Yeah.
done right before you knock somebody out there.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lawsuit on things.
So maybe get a couple suggestions from him, I guess is.
I'll call I gotta talk, if it's the same company as the camera system, I gotta call them anyway about that DVR. I don't know if you guys know, John ordered a new DVR for the camera system, and it was about $7,000. And I think for very little less, for a little bit more, $7,000, you could replace the whole camera system for something that, when you're at $7,000 and it's an outdated system.
Is this
Like,
one jail?
I'm sorry.
Just for the jail?
Yeah, it is. There's a few cameras that we have issues with already. That aren't working.
System cost that much.
Has it been ordered but not received yet?
Hasn't been received yet,
How many ordered?
2 weeks ago. That's a weekend before that.
You can get whole systems for like 2,000, I mean, a pretty good system at that.
2000 more.
No, $2,000 or $3,000.
I think the biggest cost.
Not.
As far as replacement, I think you can buy the cameras and the DVR for that, but if anymore, everything's HD and infrared, so I don't know if those cables that are in there now are capable of handling an HD or an infrared system.
So you got all the wiring systems.
That would be the only.
In that case, you're probably looking at.
It could, but
bidding
even,
something like that.
even at double, even if it costs us $15,000, I think that why put $7,000 into an old system when you could put another $7,000 into a new system that is up to date, and that system's 14 years old.
So you thinking that there hasn't been processed that you can stop,
I can stop it.
you can stop it and we can rebid and relook at it?
I would suggest you restop it, get a little bit more research.
Well, I want them to come up and give us a bid on
Right.
a whole new system
Well,
before we
it-
buy
it-
$7,000.
I think you may
If you're spending that much, get
Yeah.
2 or 3. I
Yeah.
think probably have a few people to bid on something like that.
Yeah, if it's gonna go with 10,000, at least come
What
bid.
do you know?
I think that would make sense.
I don't know if maybe local would do that.
There's one guy in town that does stuff, but I don't think he does. He just does like home security stuff. I can't remember.
Who installed the first system? You know?
Can't remember the name off the top of my head, but, I've been playing phone tag with him for about 5 days.
Was it that RSI?
Totally, I think, or Langston. Somewhere, so.
They did the, I think they're the ones.
You're talking about Simplex Cornell? No.
Simple.
Simplex Cornell,
That sounds.
they might be the ones that do it. They do all the key fob stuff too. They do like a lot of security.
Yeah, it was all in one, I think, the key fobs, cameras, and.
I bet that's what they do.
In our system over there.
Yeah.
But
They may have a state contract.
There is a
with the-
contract currently.
Simplex Cornell's pretty big. They may have a state contract with some of that stuff too.
But I should, that's why I've been wanting to talk to, he's a sales guy, I've been trying to get hold of it, he purchased that through, but I would think that $7,000 is awfully close to just a whole new system, I would think.
I mean, there might be a possibility of some of that going to wireless too. I don't know what the walls are.
That would be your expense if you'd have to rewire.
Wired, that would save you some money.
But there's a camera, there's cameras outside, over in the administrative parking lot, there's a camera outside the Sally Port. I think that one's shot, so it needs replaced too.
It's over here.
Yeah, right over the Sally Port over here. And then there's 2 or 3 blank spots on that screen. And
they're so small, I can't really tell where they're supposed to be at, but,
If you're gonna look at that, you may, one of the recommendations that was made in the courthouse security proposal was to have them throughout the courthouse. And if you're gonna do a new system, I think you wanna at least look at what it would be to have those in place, at least at the doors, entering all the entrances to the courthouse, and probably down the two main hallways.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
as far as, I mean, with in implementing a courthouse security officer too, I think it's pretty imperative that you go ahead and, you know, look into something like that too, just because you can't secure the whole building with one officer. So,
Yeah, that's, I mean, the camera's a good backup.
Yes. There was other, there were other suggestions, having one entrance, one exit, that was a big, that was a big one too, that was.
Until you have one entrance, one exit to that courtroom, you're not gonna secure the building. I mean, that's,
Well, I mean, to the courthouse, I think that was his suggestion was.
the problem you have though is, you know, you're walking inmates and are people coming into court right next to people that come in to pay their taxes, you know? And that's,
I can't tell them, I thought it was probably way out there, but I always thought with the jail there and the elevators, right here, it'd be much more secure. Not big enough.
It was designed for that. That was one of the designs that was the judge's bench, prosecutor's table and defense table.
that's kind of a similar situation, though, like municipal court people, I mean, you wanna drag all your court files and everything all over here, I mean, to see an inmate, I mean, that's where the county attorney and the judges are gonna say no. I mean, I would say, I'm just speaking for them, I'm not quoting them, but, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
lot.
Well, and we have this, these,
Video
cameras, and they've got cameras downstairs. They're never used, but that's,
I don't know if they work, either.
well, they work. I've seen them used. I haven't seen these used. I've seen the ones in the visiting room downstairs. They worked a few years ago. They're very rarely used.
The sound system doesn't work, I think, because we looked into that when we were putting in the camera up there, I think the sound system was shot.
I believe there's capabilities of, the way they talked at the sheriff's conference that, or the sheriff's school I went to, that their video visitation, which we do now currently here, so you can do that from home, on webcams and a lot of jails are, that's where the activity of people coming up here to visit has decreased a lot. It's helped out staff-wise, and I imagine that there's some, and I'll look into it, but that they can incorporate that into where a judge can interview somebody right down there out of the pot.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing for the lawyers would be for them to be able to meet with their clients before they get to court, because it is hard, it's hard for them to come over and get in and do that. John had talked with somebody about doing the video visitations, and it seemed to me that the charge they were recommending was something like $1 a minute.
It's pretty much the same as the phone system. It's up an hour a minute, and it's expensive. But, you know, by the time people drive up here, those, trying to find a place to park and stuff, and I think that's the convenience of it.
Well, and this was an outside vendor, and my suggestion to him was, that's something I think we can do ourselves, rather than take the 25% cut, which is what I think their vendor suggested. It's not hard. I mean, one iPad, you're set up
You have recording capabilities and,
to record.
yeah, because all that's recorded and
Yeah,
stored.
I don't know.
That's the only issue.
Wes probably would.
I don't know, I could find out pretty quick, but I could probably tell you that there's not any jail that's doing it themselves. I would imagine. I mean, that's just another headache for sheriff to take care of.
We don't care about that.
We'll buy you after.
I'll show you some pictures. I'll show you some pictures,
Don't you have a prescription?
But I think that's more of the, you know, just the maintenance part of it would be, we can look into it. I don't think any jail that I know of that would handle themselves, of course. Ours is pretty good size compared to some of the smaller ones, but most of the smaller ones are outdated and
Don't she have some extra electronic equipment sitting around somewhere? Oh, radios.
Is there any value to that?
there are some, the old jail radios, IMCO radios, Icon radios are, that I'm gonna put on surplus. I'm not the actual radio, because that's our frequency, that's what it costs more to get them switched over than it'd be worth, but like the mics and the battery chargers and batteries and stuff, they've been sitting for years though, so I don't know. I looked up the charges on the internet, they're going for about $10 on eBay, but if you buy them new, they're about $45, so, it might be worth trying to surplus them.
Nice collection.
A lot of that stuff's really obsolete, most of the other stuff is, but.
It don't take long for stuff to get kind of obsolete.
Well, you know, the narrowband really hurt, a lot of agencies around with, the radios were compatible with narrowband, so. But the main thing is that front door, that I had, and then uniforms, John acquired some Leavenworth County uniforms, he said some, truckload. And, we sorted through those last week, we got rid of the disgusting sweat stained ones, but we salvaged quite a few, out there, but, I don't know, but inmates hung them up on hangers for us, and we didn't want it back down where they were, so, then burnt the rest of them. The vehicles.
Get your burns on?
Yeah, well, they have patches on them, so we don't want them. Going out to the public, so.
How many did you have to burn?
About 10 45-gallon trash bags full. I don't know what all was involved in the trade, but I know we had a dog that traded 40 uniforms, and whatever else was involved, I don't know. But there's some other hats and stuff down there that we haven't gone through. For the most part, everything's pretty much cleaned out as far as equipment inventory. We got all the inventory to go through still and mark it, but.
Was everything down there that was inventory? I mean, is there anything that's come up missing?
I don't know right now. Nothing major, if there is, a few radios that we probably just threw away that were broken or sent off, and they said just pitch them, but, nothing I can tell, but.
I think we had an inventory, did we ever get inventory of equipment
I
list?
never got one from him, he said he was working on that. Did he leave one for you?
Yes, he's got one, down there with, everything that had stickers on it, the inventory stickers, she had down, like all those radios, we just took all those off that were in the cell. I think, a lot of that stuff that wasn't taken off, everything was just obsolete, just nothing salvageable about it. We got a bunch of computers down there too that Wes is gonna take for us, I think that's out of 911, but that's. There's quite a few of that stuff. That's about all I had.
Yeah, definitely check on that door, see what it's.
I get that, I get that, the second door, so we need to get it fixed right, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, just make sure.
It'd have to, if we did that, it'd have to be a whole new door, probably, so. 'Cause it's
That second one.
yeah. Because when people do go in and out of there at night, So it'd have to be some way to, I don't know how to.
You make it a sliding door? That second one? I'm just trying to figure out how you're gonna, I don't think you get a wheelchair in there.
The only thing I thought, when I
Swinging.
was talking to Rob about is you push that button, it opens both doors. That way it's already open by the time they get in.
Oh, okay.
But after hours, typically probably not gonna have anybody come up there, after hours in a wheelchair.
So your intercom has to be outside. You're right.
The intercom's inside the square, but like I said, it's too high for them to push the button anyway, so. You could put a cheap way out of it would be, they get in that first door, they sit in there, and then we can buy a remote, like a doorbell that lights up in the tower, and it lights up, and they can come out and let them out, but, you know, if there's only one person in that tower, they can't leave. So they have to get somebody to come up from the jail, or a dispatcher to run out there, or something. This is something that it really isn't gonna happen. I mean, but if it does, we have a problem.
Well, reasonableness is supposed to be the touchstone on the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so, you know, having something after hours that is slightly inconvenient, I think is still reasonable.
That's the thing, anybody that comes in there after hours is gonna have to wait for somebody to come let them in or buzz them in that door. They can buzz, you know, anybody that can open the door in,
Right.
but do we have to allow that for somebody, you know, to say?
Well, I don't think you just kick security to the curb and say, well, anybody who pushes this button can come in at night, because.
Well, that's when you hit the intercom button, and you talk to them, what are you here for? I'm here to bomb so-and-so out.
Yeah.
And then they'll let them in.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if it might not be worth at least a phone call to Reed Graves or an architect to find out if that's of course, we just tripled the cost of the project.
Who's buzzing? I don't know. Reversing that door, I can see what you say, but
I don't know what those are either.
Every grocery store has them, so they're not terrible.
Didn't the city get hit with that here, not too long ago? A year or two ago?
I don't know.
88.
When I know in 2008, they didn't have any push buttons. And of course, we had Shirley down there, and we always had to let her out and stuff, so.
You have steps on front of your building too, or that building. 515 Kingdom has steps in front too.
But, you know, reversing that door, I don't think that's gonna work either, unless you put an automatic on there. But I don't know how that automatic works, you know, if it's after hours and that door's locked, and do you burn the motor up in it by pushing that button, you know, so I don't know how that works. I think ideally, if they could buzz, when they push that button and buzz them in after hours, if they're able to put a remote on there, maybe I can talk to that company that we have a contract with on that, and see if they have it. And I don't see an issue with it, go ahead and open it up for anybody, automatically, if that's the case, you know, if we had to, you know, buzz somebody in, and it just opens up for them automatically, no matter who it is.
So the only ones come after hours is your bail bonds and that.
Typically, or,
Could you put like a bank window on that one side, or, but there's nobody in there, there's nobody in the office after hours?
Used to be the tower. I guess once you talk with Emery Glass, I guess, kind of see what some of their options are. So what's cost.
Maybe you can give you a couple of options.
Yeah.
Give you something to sleep on.
even the first step, just get them in the first door for now, and try to figure out, 'cause I think that's just one-day deal for him to come in, put that in and be done with it, but that second door, if he can drop that intercom down, then I don't think it's anything else is an issue, so that's what we can do.
Maybe just try that, see if it works.
Yeah, see how it works, and then we have to proceed to step two, we have to, sounds reasonable to me, so.
Okay. All right.
Chamber banquet this weekend, or you?
Still working on babysitter, but, okay, let's see, she texted me.
Yeah, that's what, I think it'll, I couldn't miss it last year.
I'm gonna try, I think I'll be back in spring, so I just want to,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. Supposed to be one person. Suggestions?
Suggestions,
We want one.
chamber banquet?
Yeah, well, you're gonna be there for Chamber Ambassadors.
I wasn't planning to go.
how many tickets do we have?
8.
Are you coming, Dave?
So the county has a table?
Yeah.
2, 4, 6, 7, we got one.
Suggestions?
He probably got other plans for Saturday night.
Different date?
This Saturday?
Will be, I can't say. We need somebody, we need a single from our county.
So how many are,
We get 8 tickets.
8 tickets. It's just one table.
that include me, or am I, or, I mean, I think I'm sitting at the ambassador.
Yeah, I assume that you're gonna be at the ambassador table, where you're already going as an ambassador, so that's when.
I mean, it doesn't matter, that's where, I didn't know there was a table.
We all sit at the same table, we don't need.
You said it's the same table.
Oh, okay. That'd be,
Fine,
that'd be
that's what it
dangerous.
Mm.
I'm gonna leave it, just leave it up to you to figure out somebody.
Try to find somebody. Any suggestions?
Somebody can direct scout the tickets and if open games, I'm gonna go out there and get a ticket.
Your new register of deeds, man.
Oh, I'm progressing the amount.
That's the hard part, you just do by yourself.
How about Jerry, can you talk to Jerry Copeland?
No, I haven't, I hadn't talked to Jerry, so, possibility. He's gonna see him as the best of his wife, so it's, wouldn't hurt to ask, but.
Well, can he fire a ticket?
Come on, Jerry.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, that's okay. Yeah. So,
Bonnie, we got any purchasing cards in?
Not yet, and I need to get what vehicle you're driving, so, for that gas card, and for Joe too, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've been using her, I think I used Kelly's number, Joanne's number, last couple times before that.
And we do have credit cards with Exchange, if you know.
I saw one, he had one, I didn't know if that was something I needed to.
I don't know if I can talk to him about getting it changed.
Did you get the website changed over,
So,
Jack?
Yes, Wesley.
There was
Oh, you
also
did?
that,
Okay.
there's that Bob Cop one, did that get changed?
He took the link off.
Okay.
I guess, Leslie's information on Bill and Mike's on
Information.
like a bio, or?
a bio.
Yeah, that would've been.
Well, I thought mine was already on.
Put my name on
Was
it.
yours?
yeah.
'Cause I
Did you get
thought
email
maybe it was not a picture.
set up to, or?
Do you have your card, your,
I'm pretty sure.
that was badge, ID badge?
No, Wes would need to get that too.
John gave me a key fob thing to open the door.
night, I want that one.
You don't want them, I'm not never gonna.
Well, I had one before, it was North Vista.
I've been asking for some, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had like an old.
She's got, the problem is, we need to get, I talked to Wes about it, the computer for it's downstairs in the jail, it's just not convenient for her to get those programs, so we're gonna try to get a network, wireless network, so she can do it from her desk, make it a lot easier. I don't know, probably just don't, whether or not all activated, but I don't know how it works.
And then I think Tom went through that way all the time, so we just, I just gave it to him.
Yeah.
I used to have an old one, but I think we changed the old one.
I was afraid to walk through there, figured they'd handcuff me.
If you could get those.
Well, it is
in
nice
front
too,
door, too.
if you go
After hours.
down here, you.
I asked about that because I have an issue with the, locker rooms upstairs. With trustees walking around, if an officer, whoever, or a judge is down there showering, the trustee could walk right into the locker room right now. They're not secure. So I thought about maybe seeing what it would cost to add that key fob onto those, to keep the trustees out of there. Travis says there's been an issue with trustees, but they're trustees.
Yeah, you don't want the first one to be on the news. Yeah.
So, either that or just gonna have to key it. That's another thing, I don't know much about the keys, and, you know, if I can make copies of everything but a master, and where do we get a new master? Because as far as I know, we only have 2 masters. Does locksmith do that for us, or?
What, Joe, has he done anything like that? These are maintenance, these are county maintenance, that's probably.
I would ask him, and, I'd be real surprised if John Eggers couldn't make it.
Well, it says something about the master keys are like rolled and not cut. I don't know. I don't know anything about
He
it.
would know. He
I was
would
gonna
know
call the
all the
office.
copies.
We gotta get some,
Get his number, I don't think he's in the phone book anymore, he is.
my dispatcher on has, it, I'm sure they do.
So do you know who has all the keys to all these rooms? I'm curious.
I asked, she's supposed to give me, Missy's giving me a list of people that have the fobs. Everybody has a fob, that way I know.
Well, Bill's probably under Tom Wagner's name. Did Tom give it to you?
No, John gave it to.
Tom gave it to John, I think.
Tom
Yeah.
gave it to John, said give it to me, but chances are I'll never go through that door.
But the,
Well, if you needed to go.
Downstairs, yeah, I might use it for that.
there's some people that have them, and no offense, but there's some defense attorneys that have them because they didn't wanna walk outside, I guess, to come over to jail with somebody. I'm probably gonna be doing away with that. I just don't think it's necessary, but they, I mean, 3 of them that have them walk around town all day long anyway, so why we can't walk around outside, so.
You know what they say, you can't trust an attorney.
There's a good reason.
Just kidding.
I just, being that the interview rooms are there, we don't need defense attorneys to do there at the same time, if we're getting some of it. Just an issue.
Well, if they really don't want to go outside, they can come up here and go through it for the day.
It's locked. It looks
Pretty
locked.
good.
There's good law.
Because
I
they had
can't
a problem,
figure it out.
they had a problem with the attorney coming up this way, through. That's why John told him to lock.
We can walk around.
Let us know in the doors, definitely get that addressed.
He's supposed to call me as soon as he has the bill, so, on the, when are you meeting again this week?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Right, then starting next week, we're gonna be having we're gonna start afternoon meetings at 2:00. And then we're gonna try to have way through, we can ask you. We have department head meetings, this first, a 9:00 meeting. We're debating about it in March, going to one day where we have a work session in the morning and then have the actual meeting and stuff in the afternoon. Does morning work better for you possibly for?
Morning probably better for me, for the most part, most of the time. There'll be some,
Of course, you never know, you may get, you may get a call that you know. that's our goal, we want to try to meet at least monthly with all the department heads.
Sounds good to me.
You got any major issues or complaints or whatever?
Did you guys check through the partners program on Wes's truck? Or did you guys do that through state contractors?
What's that?
On Wes's truck? Did you,
State,
is that the partners program?
I believe,
Okay.
there's several different entities out there, more than just the highway patrol, I'm not sure.
I contacted them, or I sent them emails to get me set up on that, but, there's also another place in Texas, that basically outfits your whole vehicle for you and stuff, I was gonna contact you, but, the money for the Durango, has that been transferred?
No, I don't think we have transfer, I think we're waiting to see what, yeah, one of the first things that we do, I think we're waiting on, probably towards the end of the month, I think we'll be looking at.
What?
The transfer for capital outlay for the Durango.
Oh, from ambulance
Yeah.
or?
That was another thing,
I think,
Durango, had some complaints on him driving around town, trying to do some lights and stuff, but I think it's been addressed by a PD officer, and, we all recommend that it be decal, or something.
It has to be, there's a statute that requires that every county vehicle other than law enforcement be marked, so.
Yeah, I didn't think they put it in, I was on the assumption it wasn't required already, but they apparently.
well, they've been using it,
I know.
there's no decals on it.
I haven't seen it run a light and siren at all, but that was an issue, I guess.
I didn't see the siren, but I see the lights, it was parked down all the towers.
But they are responding with that like to every call, so, from what I've seen. I don't know if that's supposed to work out, that's not my business. It needs to be detailed pretty quick. I know there's some issues on that, like the county rescue people, of having lights and sirens in their personal vehicles, and am I the one that's supposed to approve that?
Yeah.
Well, there's a statute on that, this came up a couple of years ago, I think, we came up with we had some requirements, like they had to have a certain amount of insurance, and they had to notify their company that they were using it as, their insurance company, that they were using it as an emergency vehicle. And I thought John said there was only that one.
Tony Brown.
Yeah, it was the only one, we had it on 3 vehicles, I think.
I know there's a few others that Wes told me that were wanting to do it. I think they even have them in their vehicles already, but, they haven't used them, I guess, according to him. But they, I remember when that came up, a couple of years ago, there was an issue of whether they could have red and blue lights, or if they could just have red lights, or something in that.
What's the difference?
I was thinking that law enforcement was only allowed to have blue. I don't know. I think there's like a law, red has to be on one side, blue has to be on the other, or something. I have to look it up, but it's.
I'm not aware, I don't remember any discussion of that, I never paid attention, so.
Well, I just remember there's a few guys, like Chris Wagner and Eric Armstrong, had to run and take the blue lights out of their pushing vehicles.
I don't think they run blue lights on like fire or rescue, I think it's red and white.
Any idea?
That's pretty sure what it, I think he's
Some of
right,
these guys have
I think
blue.
he's right, I think blue is, law enforcement. Highway patrol.
I remember some of them had to take them off because they had red and blue, and they got them acquired from somewhere, police departments, eating surpluses or something.
I think it's red and white that we're for the first responders and rescue and fire.
Maybe we need to,
I'll talk to him.
he makes the final approval. Whether you keep track or Wes keeps track, I mean, because he's the guy in charge of rescue, he keep track of.
Well, I think ultimately it's your decision, is what we determined, that there was what we came up with was an application that they would fill out, and then it would go to the sheriff for comments.
Then
And it would come to you for approval. And
I think wasn't it decided though they could run lights and sirens but not break any traffic laws?
No, I don't remember that. It could have been, but I don't remember that. And one of the things on there was for insurance requirements, that certification on, so I think Wes has that application.
This prevent people running like basically hot lights through town or something like that on, you know.
Yeah, it's an issue.
I
It has been an issue before.
And that's why we required the insurance, because they had to notify their insurance company, this is what we're doing with their vehicle.
And I think
Higher liability limits.
my recommendation on that, and, I agree that that should be a monthly check on their insurance, because people can go to insurance and drop it back down the next month, even though it's a 6-month thing. That's,
I would think if you notify.
people do it all the time, you just get the tags, they'll go get insurance.
You know, I'm not even sure, I wonder if we got we probably should make sure we get certification of insurance. I can't remember when we signed off on those, if there was certification of insurance liabilities.
I
Can't remember if there was.
I'm only remembering there being one person.
Yeah, but was there certification? You'd have to like have a policy deck page, or you'd have to have something.
I think Brock's is the only one right now that's allowed, whether it's turned into stuff or whatever, but,
Like, we could just require people to show us a policy. I would think if you reported to your insurance company and they knew what you were doing about it, you tried dropping it down, I have a feeling that they'd probably
and then
not allow that, or they would probably frown upon it.
that Durango's license plate needs to be returned to me too, as soon as they get the county license plate put on.
Oh, it's still the
That's
same.
law enforcement only license plate.
Okay.
Oh, you need a county license.
They have to have a county one, the one that's on there is a
As a
citizen.
personal.
Yeah, but it's through the state, we have to pay like $75 to get it.
Okay.
It's just so people can't run the tag,
We
it
just-
comes back record not found, the record to run.
Do that.
Yeah, but it was.
That's what?
Okay, who would they go to get a county tag?
Through the treasurer's office.
Okay.
But that tag that was issued was not run through the treasurer, that's run through.
No, but the county one, through the treasurer, and we'll have to do a check. So I'll see how much. We can do a check.
Oh, I don't know, have they looked into getting decals for that vehicle?
I think they should. It should be decaled like any other.
Because we're gonna add some decals to some of our vehicles, and, we're gonna get some bids to Robert, send them through tabs now. Some of the vehicles we got done at tabs, not sticking very well, from what I understand, I haven't looked at them real closely, but, so I don't know. I know there's different qualities, and you don't wanna spend a bunch of money on a vehicle that's used, you know. You want it to last as long as the car's gonna last you, so, but we can tell them that we can throw another vehicle in there for them if we want to, try to get a better price on it.
Well, I think it needs to be, you know,
They may be waiting until they have the ambulances back or remount because they're,
I just, maybe I'll communicate through Wes, and that Wes talk to text and see what they got planned, because we kind of leave that up to them, so.
Well, really, probably like all of them, because I think even the old one had to update too.
We'll have to look at that.
The one we had in Effingham, so it might be like all of them, they have to re-bed.
yeah.
They may have to change out some lights on that one too, from blue to white.
On the, red.
Durango.
I thought they took care of that.
They take those off already?
They were supposed to, it was supposed to be modified, we approved purchase.
I don't know,
it was modified.
I haven't seen it, so.
I've only seen it driven through, I didn't see the lights on it, but I've seen it driven through town.
Okay. So, should have for me.
That's about it. Just let us know that we're,
Tag number is on there, right?
No, off the top of my head, but I'll get it for you.
Hmm?
I can get it for you.
anything further, right? You have anything?
I don't have anything else. We'll be here tomorrow, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
It is.
we'll be back tomorrow.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. favor, signify by saying aye.